Chapter 523. Don't treat this as child's play. If you want to do business in Yanjing, you have to be on good terms with these superpowers. Zhang Zhongguo's expression was stern, then he smiled proudly. If that's what you want, I can introduce you to them. To tell you the truth, Dan Feng is on good terms with the new head of the Fu family, Fu Jioga, and a few other top young masters. Yes, that makes sense. Jiang Tian nodded in agreement. But big brother, how can we get on good terms with them? Jiang Zhixing and Jiang Tian looked at each other and smiled. It turned out that the game of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger was so fun. Then let these guys with excessive sense of superiority be proud for a while. You can offer 10 billion. Zhang Zhongguo sipped his tea and said calmly, I'll sell my old face and introduce you to them. As long as you become friends with these superpowers, you won't be far from Kong Teichu. In Wuxia, you can basically do whatever you want. You can settle all the official and business relationships in one fell swoop. If you're not my family, I won't waste this effort. His tone was condescending. It was as if asking the Jiang family to pay 10 billion was a great favor from him. And the Jiang family should be grateful. When Zhang Wanqing heard this, she felt that her husband's approach was right. If she had just revealed her son's identity, they probably wouldn't have known that they were holding back their evil intentions. I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult for us to take out 10 billion. The cash flow is also quite tight. Forget it. Zhang Wanqing shook her head. Hearing this, everyone was slightly taken aback. Zhang Zhongguo smiled a little stiffly and said, Wanqing, you're silly. You don't know the stakes in this. If we offend these big shots, we've always been operating legally. We don't offend anyone and our orders are very stable. Let's not think about this for now. Zhang Wanqing declined tactfully. Zhang Zhongguo stared at Zhang Wanqing with a slightly cold expression. He leaned back in his chair and lit a cigarette. He finally revealed his true intentions and sneered. Wanqing, I'm afraid you'll have to pay 10 billion. Why? Zhang Wanqing smiled. Some time ago, Jiang Tian beat up Pan Jiajun, the son of Deputy Director Pan of the FDA, outside the Fragrant Hills villas. Both of his legs were fractured. Zhang Zhongguo said coldly. Deputy Chief Pan said that he was going to teach Jiang Tian a lesson. He was furious. It was only when I went to apologize to him that the Pan family agreed to let you go. If that's your attitude, then I won't care anymore. What? Jiang Tian, you even hit Pan Jiajun? Don't you know that they are from the Fu family? Zhang Yue and Zhang Huchen looked at Jiang Tian as if he were crazy. In the past few days, they had been learning about Kong Teichu and the 6 great families. They were well aware of how terrifying a martial arts family was. The Pan family and the Fu family were on good terms. Wouldn't that be troublesome? Jiang Tian, is that true? Zhang Qinzhen looked nervously at Jiang Tian and said, Jiang Tian, why don't you just give in and apologize? Jiang Tian nodded slightly. Zhang Qingen's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Zhang Zhongguo and begged, Brother, you can't just ignore this. But can you please reduce the money? The Medicine King Group has just started to develop. It's not easy. Zhang Yilin spoke up for Jiang Tian. It's not Cousin's fault. They were the ones who molested Cousin's friend first. Shut up, Yilin. Zhang Damfeng scolded her harshly. Then he looked coldly at Jiang Tian and said disdainfully, Jiang Tian, do you think you're so great just because you know some martial arts? The Fu family is a martial arts family. Do you think you can shake it? Jiang Tian, you're stupid. It wasn't easy for the Jiang family to cultivate a talent like you. You're destroying your own future. You're not just destroying yourself. You're destroying the Jiang family too. Jiang Tian, you don't know how deep the water in Yanjing is. Suddenly, a group of people began to criticize Jiang Tian. Of course, these criticisms were wrapped in the cloak of, I'm saying this for your own good. What's done is done. They're just a few ants. If there's any problem, I'll take care of it myself. Jiang Tian's expression didn't change at all. Good, you little bastard. You're really arrogant. Zhang Zhongguo was so angry that he laughed. He slammed the table and his slightly widened eyes were full of coldness and murderous intent. A month ago, you beat up Huchen and Qingji. Now you're stirring up trouble in Yanjing. Isn't it enough that you've offended the Song family? You're pushing the Zhang family and the Jiang family into a fire pit. I wanted to help you mediate, but it seems that I've been thinking too much. I've been meddling in other people's business." Once he was angry, the atmosphere in the dining room immediately changed. Swords were drawn and the smell of gunpowder was full of hostility. "Jiang Tian, you beat up your uncle and Huchen. What's going on?" Zhang Wanqing asked in shock. "Auntie, it's like this." Zhang Yilin told the story concisely. Zhang Wanqing's brows furrowed after hearing it. On the other hand, Jiang Tian slowly sipped his tea before raising his head to look at Zhang Zhonggua and faintly saying, "Zhang Zhonggua, you've been meddling in other people's business. What's the 6 dominant families of Yanjing? They're nothing. Are they worthy of our friendship? You actually called him by his name, and even insulted him by calling him a dog. You have no respect for your elders." Zhang Danfeng and the others were stunned and couldn't believe it. Good. You've got guts. Zhang Wanqing, is this how you teach your son?" Zhang Zhonggua was so angry that his body trembled and his face turned purple. He didn't dare to vent his anger on Jiang Tian, so he turned around and stared at Zhang Wanqing. "Uneducated. Boorish. So what if you know martial arts? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're brainless. You won't be able to survive more than 3 days in Yanjing. You've been ignorant and incompetent since you were young. You've caused a lot of trouble, and now it seems that you haven't improved at all. You're just a bunch of country bumpkins. You think you can do whatever you want in Jin City? You're like frogs at the bottom of a well. You're so rude. Why don't you apologize to your uncle?" Other than the 4th uncle's family, the other uncles and aunts were so angry that their faces turned pale. "Shut up, all of you." Zhang Wanqing slammed the table and exuded the domineering aura of the medical queen. Everyone was silent. With tears in her eyes, she asked sternly, "Brother, this is the last time I call you brother. If you call Jiang Tian a bastard, what do you think Zhixing and I are?" Good Wanqing. You've grown up. How dare you slam the table in front of your brother?" Zhang Zhonggua's smile became colder and colder. He finally revealed his true colors and said lightly, "The head of the Fu family, Bureau Chief Pan Jiejun, and the others wanted to negotiate with you. Since you and your son are so capable, you should be able to handle this small matter. You can talk to them yourselves." Receiving the hint in his eyes, Zhang Danfeng immediately got up and walked out of the door to make a call. Meanwhile, in an even more luxurious private room in Wangjiang restaurant. The room was more than 300 square meters in size and was brightly lit. At a large round table, more than 10 middle-aged men with extraordinary bearings were drinking and chatting merrily with each other. A group of beautiful women with their hair tied up in buns and dressed in red palace attire shuttled back and forth like fish, serving wine and dishes. Each of these beauties in palace attire could be a model for a fashion magazine. In the eyes of ordinary people, their temperament and appearance were at the level of goddesses. But now, they could only gently serve these important people food and wine, as if they were palace maids serving the emperor. If there were people from the upper class of Yanjin present, they would have recognized these people. Those in the business world were worth more than 10 billion yuan, and those in the government were above the level of director. However, none of these so-called successful people cared about the beautiful woman serving the dishes. Their reverent gazes were all focused on the fat man who looked like a meatball. "Let me tell you something. The adjudicator Master Kong is like a god. I heard that he can fly in the sky." Fat Fu smiled smugly. Old Pan, the deputy director of the Food and Drug Administration, smiled and said, "Family Lord Fu, have you really met Master Kong? When will you introduce us to him?" "How are you qualified to meet Master Kong? He doesn't like to talk to common people like us." Fatty Fu gave him a disdainful look and said with a complacent smile, "In the past, Fat Fu had to be polite to Deputy Director Pan. After all, he was only a distant nephew of Fu Hongxue. However, things were different now. With the support of Chen Zifen and the others, he had stabilized his position as the patriarch of the Fu clan and gathered all the remaining forces. He was now on the same level as the patriarchs of the other 5 great clans. So what if Deputy Director Pan was a deputy director? He still had to listen to him. "Please forgive me, Family Lord Fu. I will drink a glass of wine as punishment. Deputy Bureau Chief Pan hurriedly picked up his glass and drained it in one gulp. Then he joked, but since Patriarch Fu was able to get acquainted with Jiang Taichu, then under Patriarch Fu's leadership, we will definitely be able to achieve great things. Seeing Deputy Director Pan's servile attitude, Fat Fu was very happy. He smiled smugly and said, "Alas, Family Lord Fu used to be very successful. I was just following Family Lord Fu to make a living." However, Fu Hongxue's health was not good. He suddenly died of a heart attack, leaving behind a mess and many brothers. I had no choice but to take on this responsibility. Deputy Director Pan smiled and said, "I heard that tens of billions of assets of Family Lord Fu have fallen into the hands of Family Lord Fu. Now, even the chairman of the group is you. It's really worth celebrating." Alas, I was just a small director of the Fu family financial group. My Uncle Fu ate the meat, and I was satisfied with the soup. Who would have thought that Uncle Fu's health was not good and he suddenly died? Several members of Family Lord Fu were not on good terms with Chen Zifen and Qin Zongheng, so they were all driven away. They could only entrust me to act as their agent for the time being. I am ashamed. Although he said that he was ashamed, his fat face was beaming with joy. There was no trace of politeness in his eyes. Seeing this, the rich people and high-ranking officials around him started to flatter him and flatter him. Fatty Fu was so happy that his soul almost flew to the sky. At this time, Deputy Director Pan suddenly received a phone call, and his face suddenly darkened. "What's wrong?" Fujioga asked. "Don't mention it." Deputy Director Pan shook his head resentfully and said, "My son's leg was broken by a guy from another place. Zhang Zhonghua of the Zhang family was a relative of that guy, so he mediated and agreed on compensation. However, the other party refused to admit it at the last minute. This person is drinking in the heavenly private room downstairs." Zhang Zhonghua? Who does he think he is? It turns out that he is still trembling in fear when he sees Family Lord Fu. After hearing this, Fujioga's fat face was full of contempt. Then a fierce light flashed in his eyes. He slammed the table, stood up, and said angrily, "Is he not afraid of Family Lord Fu now that I am the head of Family Lord Fu? Let's go and see." Seeing that Yanjing's new aristocrat, Fat Fu, had made a move, everyone quickly got up and followed him out of the private room. Chapter 524. Not long after Zhang Danfeng left, he returned to the private room. At the same time, a sarcastic voice sounded. "Jiang Tian, aren't you very powerful? Now that my father and Lord Fu are here, let's see how long you can keep this up." A fat guy walked in, escorted by a few middle-aged men with extraordinary bearings. Pan Jiajun, who was the last one standing, pointed at Jiang Tian and yelled anxiously, "Stop! Lord Fu! Chief Pan!" Shocked, Zhang Danfeng, Zhang Yue, Zhang Huchen, and the other youngsters hastily rose to their feet and bowed respectfully. Even Zhang Zhonghua didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly stood up and sighed. "Lord Fu, Deputy Chief Pan, I don't know what to do. I can't persuade these stubborn blockheads. You can talk to them yourselves." Zhang Huchen pointed at Jiang Tian with a wine bottle in his hand and said, "Jiang Tian, I know you can fight, but you're definitely not a match for the Fu clan. I advise you to calm down a little." Hee, they came so quickly. They must have come prepared. Peaceful means before resorting to force. Zhang Wanqing secretly sneered in her heart, feeling sad. At this moment, her last hope for the Zhang family had been shattered. It was obvious that the Zhang family hated the Jiang family. They didn't really want to help, they just wanted money. They were trying to scare and trick the Jiang family. Even if the Jiang family handed over the money, they wouldn't be able to make friends with the so-called big families. They wouldn't be able to get anything. They were closer to the big families and might even kill the Jiang family and take over the Jiang family's assets. "Kid, aren't you very arrogant? Why don't you try to hit me again? Now that my father and Lord Fu are here, are you scared?" Pan Jiajun limped over to Jiang Tian arrogantly, showing off his prowess as he laughed complacently. "Scared? Scared to death?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "I'm scared that your legs will be broken again. There's no wheelchair for you to sit in." Deputy Chief Pan's face was livid. He questioned in a cold voice, Zhang Wanqing, your son is very powerful. But don't forget that you still have a few export approval cards with me. Do you not want to pass them? Fatty Fu, is this how you lead people? I think you are tired of being the head of the family. Jiang Tian ate his fruit slowly and said coldly without looking up. What? You brat, how dare you call Lord Fu Fatty Fu? Lord Fu was so angry that he was trembling all over. Don't tell me you don't know that this is Fujiao? The new Yan. At this moment, Zhang Zhongguo was practically certain that he had Jiang Tian in his grasp, and he pointed at Jiang Tian as he roared furiously, displaying the righteous indignation that he ought to have. Jiang Tian, no matter how capable you are still no match for Fatty Fu. So what if you have a cultivation level? I only need to say a few words to make Fatty Fu suppress you. Zhang Danfeng sneered in his heart. He held his teacup and sipped his tea leisurely, his eyes full of pride. What did you say? How dare you insult Lord Fu like this? Do you want to die? Pan Jiejun's face changed color, and was about to explode. It's just as I expected. With Jiang Tian's character, he only needs to call these people over. He doesn't need to fan the flames at all to fight with Fatty Fu and the others. Seeing this, everyone shook their heads. Their faces were full of schadenfreude as they waited for the Fu clan leader to make a move. Unexpectedly, Fu Jiu, who had been standing there for a long time and trembling all over, jumped up and kicked Pan Jiejun in the waist, sending him flying to the ground. Lord Fu, why did you hit me? Didn't you come to settle this matter for me? Hurry up and deal with this brat. Pan Jiejun fell to the ground with a dumbfounded look on his face. Fu Jiu had just been promoted, and was originally a distant descendant of the Fu family. He couldn't enter the core of the family, and was on the same level as Pan Jiejun's father. He was in the entertainment industry and was easygoing, so Pan Jiejun was very close to him. In fact, after Fatty Fu became the head of the family, he was very proud. He accepted all kinds of invitations, went to all kinds of occasions, and helped people settle things everywhere. He was known as the best family head in history. But Pan Jiejun didn't expect Fatty Fu to hit him. For a moment, he was very confused and couldn't understand. In fact, the moment he saw Jiang Tian, Fu Jiu was stunned. Isn't this the adjudicator Kong Teichu? How does he know the Zhang family? When he saw Pan Jiejun provoking Jiang Tian, he was almost scared out of his wits. Why is this Pan Jiejun so blind? How dare he provoke me? Is he trying to get me killed? I'm the one who's forced to do something beyond my ability. I don't deserve to be the head of the family. I don't even have the strength to truss up a chicken. Chen Zifen pushed me to be the head of the family in order to weaken the Fu family. If I offend Master Kong, how can I be the head of the family? Screw you. Shut up. Fatty Fu was full of hatred. He hated the heavens, the earth, and the air. He wanted to kill someone, so he kicked Pan Jiejun's calf fiercely. Crack. Pan Jiejun's calf immediately broke. His wound had just healed not long ago, so how could he withstand a second blow? Ouch. Pan Jiejun was in so much pain that tears came out. He screamed at the top of his lungs and hugged his leg as he rolled around. Get this dog out of here. The head of the Fu family waved his hand energetically. He was quite arrogant. Several attendants hurriedly carried Pan Jiejun out. Head of the Fu family, did you make a mistake? Zhang Zhongguo stepped forward with a puzzled face and looked at Zhang Danfeng. Danfeng, didn't you explain the situation? Fatty Fu asked tentatively. Old Zhang, is this Jiang? Mr. Jiang, a relative of your family? Head of the Fu family, Jiang Tian is actually our relative. When Zhang Danfeng heard this, he also thought that Fatty Fu had made a mistake. He cupped his hands and smiled apologetically. Alas, this person does have some kung fu, but he lacks family education since he was young. He acts rudely and ruthlessly and is stubborn. The Zhang family is hated by everyone. He even scolded you just now. You can just deal with him. You don't have to give the Zhang family any face. Although Fatty Fu didn't have the slightest cultivation, he was very experienced in fighting Shanghai. He could see too clearly. From what he heard, it seemed that the Zhang family didn't know Master Kang's strength, and Master Kong didn't seem to be very popular with them. He slapped Zhang Danfeng's face, and blood spurted out of his nose. He sneered and said, "What are you talking about? Don't you know the rules? Head of the Fu family, what did I do wrong? After being slapped in public, a cold light flashed in the depths of Zhang Danfeng's eyes, but he hid it very well and even smiled apologetically. Just when everyone was puzzled, a voice suddenly rang out. Fatty Fu ran to Jiang Tian like a loyal dog that had seen its master. He bowed deeply, and his head almost touched the ground. He said in the most respectful tone he had ever used in his life, "Greetings, Master Kong." Little Fu. Master Kong? The whole place was dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded and looked at the rising star of Yanjin in disbelief. Like a believer who had seen a god, he trembled uneasily and stood in front of Jiang Tian. Jiang. Master Kong? Zhang Danfeng felt as if a bolt of lightning had flowed through his body, and his scalp was numb. There must be something wrong. Master Kong. Kong Teichu, in his 20s. It can't be him, can it? Suddenly, a thought flashed in Zhang Qingji's mind, and his eyes were suddenly filled with fear. Clang. Zhang Huchen's hands suddenly trembled, and the wine bottle fell on the table and smashed into pieces. How is this possible? How is this possible? He is just a good-for-nothing. How can he climb to a height that I can only look up to? Zhang Danfeng's eyes were slightly widened, and he stared at Jiang Tian in horror, but in his heart, he was screaming at the top of his lungs. Little Fu, you are quite enthusiastic, aren't you? Do you want to be an arbiter? Jiang Tian sipped his tea and said slowly with a smile. Thump. Thump. Fatty Fu was so scared that his heart almost exploded on the spot. He directly knelt on the ground, and the fat on his body kept trembling. He said in a trembling voice, Grandmaster Jiang, you are the true judge. This lowly one doesn't dare to do that. I didn't know you were here, so I accidentally bumped into you. Please don't. He knelt down. Seeing this, Zhang Zhongguo was basically certain of Jiang Tian's identity. His heart suddenly tightened, and he felt a chill run down his spine. He is a martial artist. He once scared away by Lingfei and made Zhan Long submit to him. This time he suppressed Fatty Fu. Is he Kong Teichu? Zhang Youwei's heart skipped a beat, and her face turned pale. Her delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. There was only one thought in her mind. The Zhang family is facing a disaster this time. Chapter 525. Zhang Huchen's heart was like a stormy sea that kept churning. His legs, which were used to running with weights for 10 kilometers, felt weak like noodles. He remembered how he had humiliated Jiang Tian before. The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. He almost peed his pants. Kong Teichu was the man who had destroyed the Bai family and suppressed the 6 dominant families. He is indeed the legendary adjudicator Kong Teichu. So this is your trump card. You really hid your trump card well. Zhang Danfeng's heart was filled with sorrow. He smiled bitterly. Jiang Tian, you win. I originally thought that in terms of family background, ability and tactics, I would be able to control you. Who would have thought that after calculating everything, you would actually be such an expert? We have lost everything. The Zhang family has lost everything this time. Although the ants didn't know much about the inside story, they knew that Jiang Tian was someone they couldn't afford to offend. They all looked at each other in dismay, standing close to the wall, not daring to meet Jiang Tian's eyes. They kept quiet out of fear, not even daring to breathe loudly. Deputy Director Pan was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He quickly said with a flattering face, Madam Zhang, I'm Grandmaster Jiang, I'm really sorry. My son was negligent in disciplining him and offended Grandmaster Jiang. He deserved to die. I'll break his legs when I get back. I'll punish him severely. Zhang Wanqing didn't have time to talk to him. She waved her hand and said, Deputy Director Pan, don't interrupt. We have some family matters to attend to. All right, I'm not going to argue with you. You can leave now. Jiang Tian waved his hand at Fat Fu and the others as if he was shooing flies away. He didn't want to argue with such a small fry. Besides, it was hard to find someone as useless as him. He was the perfect person to take over the Fu family for him. Thank you, Master Kong, for sparing my life. I'll take my leave now. Fat Fu was so excited that tears came out of his eyes. He kowtowed and thanked Chen Fan repeatedly. Then he rolled out of the door like a meatball. There was dead silence in the room. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in embarrassment, fear and disbelief, not knowing how to break the silence. Zhang Zhonghua had been in the bureaucracy for many years, and his skin was thick. His face was full of joy as he raised his wine cup and said, "Knowledge Executor Wanqing, I didn't expect you to raise such an outstanding son. He actually became the judge of Wuxia. Congratulations. This is not only the fortune of the Jiang clan, but also the fortune of the Zhang clan." With a face full of joy he said, "Don't misunderstand. I was just joking with you guys, don't take it to heart." He instantly lowered his head and admitted defeat. Kong Teichu, the adjudicator of martial arts. The weight was too heavy. If Jiang Tian wanted to argue with them, he could crush the entire Zhang clan with a single finger. If the Zhang family could bury the hatchet with Jiang Tian and obtain Jiang Tian's protection, it would be a meteoric rise and they would become one of the top families in Beijing. As for face, how much was face worth? As long as he could curry favor with Jiang Tian, he wouldn't hesitate to kneel to Jiang Tian. Joke? Haha, it's all a joke, right? Zhang Wanqing smiled faintly, but her eyes were cold. Zhang Qingji smiled awkwardly and said, "What else can it be if it's not a joke? After all, we're a family, right? Half of Jiang Tian's blood belongs to the Zhang clan. Big brother just wanted to show you the strength of the Zhang clan. I didn't expect the flood to hit the Dragon King's temple. It's a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Wanqing, don't take it to heart. Big brother, your joke is too big. You have to drink as punishment." Zhang Qinggong also raised his wine cup and said, "Jiang Tian has such extraordinary achievements. Our Zhang clan will hold a banquet for 3 days to announce it to the world. Let's see who dares to look down on the Zhang clan in the future." As he said that, he gave Zhang Qinzhen a crazy look. Zhang Qinzhen sighed helplessly and said, "Wanqing Jiang Tian, after all, blood is thicker than water." For a moment, many of the Zhang clan members present raised their wine cups and congratulated, flattered and said soft words. Fourth Uncle Yilin will be leaving first. Jiang Tian didn't even look at them. He got up and left with a flick of his sleeves. "Thank you for your hospitality. We're tired. We'll take our leave first." Zhang Wanqing also got up. There wasn't a trace of reluctance or emotion on her graceful face. "Wanqing, stay at home tonight. We haven't seen each other for so many years. Let's catch up." Zhang Zhonghua pitifully urged her to stay. Yes. It's more convenient to stay at home. It's not like a hotel. It's cold and impersonal. Yes. I just bought a villa there. The decorations are pretty good. Wanqing, stay there." Everyone's face was full of joy as they enthusiastically urged her to stay. "I'm not staying at a hotel. I'm staying at Yuhua Mountain Villa. The environment is okay." Zhang Wanqing's words made everyone speechless. Everyone was dumbfounded. Yuhua Villa. That was the place where the founding fathers lived. What villa could compare to it? It was simply embarrassing. "You have to stay at home for a day. Old master and old madam have always missed you. They always talk about you and care about you." Zhang Wanqing's aunt was like a petitioner who was holding a judge. She held Zhang Wanqing's hand tightly and begged with a face full of pleading. "We'll talk about it later. I'm quite busy." Zhang Wanqing only lightly shook her aunt's arm, causing her aunt's arm to go numb. She unconsciously let go of her hand. When they went out, Jiang Zhixing smiled and said, "Big brother, I'll treat you to this meal." "Haha, I've always wanted to treat you to a meal, but I never had the chance." Zhang Zhonghua followed behind like a eunuch serving an emperor. He was extremely nervous when he heard that. He quickly waved his hand and smiled apologetically. "Zhixing, it's not easy for you to come to Yanjing. How can I let you spend money?" He lowered his voice and said with a fawning expression, "Help me say a few words to Wanqing. I'll treat you later." He sped up and walked to the side of the car. He helped Jiang Tian open the door, and carefully covered the upper edge of the door frame with his hand. He laughed and said, "Jiang Tian, get in the car. Drive slowly on the road. Don't hit anything." Jiang Tian looked straight ahead and didn't even look at Zhang Zhonghua. "Don't flaunt my identity everywhere. Otherwise I won't be polite to you." I know. Big shots keep a low profile. Uncle is not a child. How can he not know? Zhang Zhongguo's face was full of flattery. He glared at Zhang Danfeng and the others. If anyone dares to say a word outside, I'll break your legs. The others agreed and helped Jiang Zhixing and his wife open the car door. Their attitude was like that of subordinates treating their leaders. In a large office on the 5th floor of Wangjiang restaurant facing the street, in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, Li Tianxuan, the chairman of Wangjiang Restaurant Culture Group, was shocked when he saw this scene. What the fuck? Is this a central leader? How can he suppress Zhang Zhonggua and Zhang Danfeng? Behind him was the female store manager, who was wearing a professional suit. She was unusually tall and had exquisite makeup on. Her beautiful eyes were filled with seductiveness, and she said in a flirtatious manner, "Bossly, there was a lot of commotion in the heavenly dining room tonight. Young Master Jiajun was beaten up and carried out. Even Fatty Fu, the new rich in Yanjin, bowed to this young Master Jiang. He was so shocked that he knelt down." Li Tianxuan came from a humble background. The reason why he could turn Wangjiang Restaurant into the top restaurant in Yanjin in a short time was because of this group of insightful staff. With them, he was one of the most well-informed people in Yanjin. He was the one who could achieve the most. Then he's really a top-notch figure. Li Tianxuan's face was full of shock. His eyes gradually became scorching hot. He then said with a serious face, "If young Master Jiang comes here again, no, to any of the Wangjiang restaurant branches, you must inform me immediately. I must make friends with this person. If it's done, you'll get a villa." Meanwhile, Zhang Zhonggua was dragging Zhang Qinzhen and Zhang Qingji back to the Zhang family's mansion to meet Zhang Jinghua. Due to the importance of this matter, he even called a few of his granduncles. What do you think? After all, we've already made friends with the Fu family. Wanqing should have agreed, right? Zhang Jinghua sat on an armchair, holding a cup of hot tea. He yawned, took a sip, and asked indifferently. In his opinion, if Patriarch Fu were to step in and use both kindness and coercion, wouldn't Zhang Wanqing obediently give in and hand over the 10 billion? No. Zhang Zhonggua's face was complicated. He said with a deep voice, "Dad, we've made a mistake. Jiang Tian's identity is not ordinary." Zhang Jinghua raised his eyebrows and said unhappily, "I know he's not ordinary. He's a martial artist, but he can't withstand the power of the Fu family." What? Won't he give in? Then let the Fu family deal with him. Humph. Do you really think you're all grown up and won't submit to the Zhang family? Old Madame Su Shulan pressed her walking stick against the ground and said fiercely, "Then let's teach the Jiang family a lesson. Didn't Jiang Tian beat up Pan Jiajun? Let the Pan family do it. Let's not stop them." No, Dad, Mom, I've made a mistake." Zhang Zhonggua was extremely anxious. Sweating profusely, he said, "Jiang Tian he is. Jiang Taichu." Bang. Zhang Jinghua's face changed drastically. His hand trembled violently, and the Song Dynasty porcelain teacup that he had bought at the Christie's autumn auction fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. However, he didn't even look at the antique teacup. Instead, he looked at Zhang Zhonggua and said, "What did you say? Say it again. Who is Jiang Tian?" "Dad, we've made a mistake. Jiang Tian is Kong Taichu." Zhang Zhonggua shook his head and sighed. He looked as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. How is that possible? You must have made a mistake. Zhang Zhonggua couldn't believe it. He thought that he was hallucinating, or that Zhang Zhonggua had lost his mind. He knew his grandson better than anyone else. How could he possibly be Jiang Taichu? How could he possibly be Jiang Taichu? Su Shulan also said in surprise, "Yes, boss. Kong Taichu is a godlike figure. Jiang Tian is a bastard." Dad, Mom, how could I have made a mistake on such a big matter? Zhang Zhonggua was so anxious that he beat his chest and stamped his feet. He told them everything that had happened that night in detail. He made Lord Fu kneel. I'm afraid he is the real deal. Su Shulan felt chills all over her body. She couldn't help but shiver. She looked at Zhang Jinghua with fear in her eyes. He is Kong Taichu? He is Kong Taichu. Zhang Jinghua shouted. Dee stood up with a livid face and paced back and forth in the hall like a manic lion. Bastards, a bunch of bastards. He was a well-mannered man, but he couldn't help but curse. His eyes were filled with anger, and he looked like a ferocious tiger. Chapter 526. Zhang Qinggong was shocked and hurried to persuade him. Dad, don't be angry. Don't be impulsive. You can't mess with Jiang Tian's family. I'm not angry. You're pissing me off. Zhang Jinghua swung his crutch and smashed it on Zhang Qinggong's head. Blood spurted out, and Zhang Qinggong fell to the ground. Zhang Jinghua was so angry that he even wanted to kill someone. The crutch made of dense and hard old sandalwood broke immediately. Dad, aren't you afraid of killing me? There wasn't much fat on the head. Zhang Qinggong grimaced in pain and covered his head. Zhang Yue felt sorry for her father. She helped Zhang Qinggong up and said, Grandpa, why did you hit my dad? Son of a bitch, you think I should hit you or not? How did you do your intelligence work? You deserve to die. Zhang Jinghua picked up the remaining half of the walking stick and smashed it on Zhang Qinggong's face, causing his skin to split open and his flesh to split open. He hit him and said angrily, It's been a month since Jiang Tian made trouble in the Zhang family, right? Huh? What did you find out? You only found out about the cash flow of the Medicine King group. I told you to focus on Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian, what about you? How did you do it? Dad, the 6 families have been guarding Kong Teichu's information. How could I find out anything? I'm just a business consulting company. Zhang Qinggong was beaten until he looked like a monkey on a red-hot iron plate. He jumped around and tried to block the attacks in vain while he threw the wok madly. If you ask me, Qingji should be the one to find out. He has connections in the National Security Agency. You think I didn't find out? The National Security Agency doesn't have the authority to do that. Zhang Qingji said gloomily. I've told you that this matter needs to be treated carefully and investigated carefully like walking on thin ice. You promised me that the information would never be wrong. But now? Zhang Jinghua shouted at the top of his lungs. What do you think we should do now? Don't tell me you want me to lower my voice and apologize to that little bastard? Zhang Jinghua threw away his crutches. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He clutched his chest in pain and sat down on the chair. It seemed that he was about to have a heart attack. Old man, don't be angry. Su Shulan hurriedly found some boiled water and fed the old man a few special pills. Then she helped him massage his chest. Jiang Tian, after all, half of the Zhang clan's blood flows in his veins. He won't be ruthless, will he? After a moment of silence, Zhang Yue consoled. Hee, how would you know how ruthless Jiang Tian is? Zhang Jinghua smiled bitterly and sighed. I received news that his uncle, Jiang Shouren, was stripped of his official position and retired early. Now that he has suffered a stroke, no one cares about him. His cousin Jiang Qingfeng is still in prison. This is his father's closest relative. Even he is so ruthless, let alone us who have not been in contact with his family for more than 10 years. Zhang Yue no longer spoke, her face deathly pale. He is Kong Teichu. After Zhang Jinghua took the medicine, the dizziness disappeared a little. However, his body and mind were completely dominated by fear and regret. That's a ruthless character who kills people like flies. He's a transcendent being who even dares to fight the Japanese army head-on. Hee, do you think he will care about this little bit of kinship? Hearing this, Zhang Yue lowered her head helplessly. Danfeng, you are too aggressive and not cautious enough. Zhang Jinghua stared at Zhang Danfeng and said in a low voice. I know I was wrong. Zhang Danfeng was startled, and then he was shrouded in despair. This was the first time in his life that his grandfather had given him such a negative evaluation. He knew that he might lose the chance to become the family lord forever. Everyone's face was pale, and they looked despondent and hopeless. No one said a word. The entire hall was silent. The atmosphere was oppressive and the air was so thick that it felt like water was about to drip out. Seeing this, Zhang Qinzhen shook his head and lamented in his mind. I have told you that life is full of ups and downs. Don't bully a poor young man, but none of you listened. Now, unfortunately, there is no medicine for regret in this world. We have to come up with a plan on how to resolve the conflict with Jiang Tian and the Jiang family. Seeing that everyone was silent, Zhang Jinghua was even more disappointed. He seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. He said with a dejected face, Before we discuss this, I have a suggestion. Everyone turned to look at him. Zhang Jinghua said weakly, I am old and I don't have the energy to control the Zhang family anymore. Now I announce that I will retire from the family. The position of family head will be assumed by fourth brother Chen Zhen. Zhang Yilin will also be in charge of the Yanjin Software Pioneer Park. Let's vote. Dad. Zhang Chenzhen couldn't believe it and exclaimed. Everyone else also exclaimed. Zhang Zhongguo's face was full of shock. Zhang Damfeng's face turned pale. He had expected this, but he didn't expect the old man to be so decisive. I agree. Third great-uncle was the first to nod. He was Zhang Jinghua's third great-uncle. He was already 100 years old, and had a lot of prestige in the Zhang family. I agree. I agree. A few of the great-uncles and the leaders of the branch families nodded in agreement. In the end, Zhang Qingji and Zhang Qinggong, who felt powerless, also agreed. If so, from now on, Chen Zhen will be the family lord. Zhang Jinghua gave up his seat without hesitation. Hearing this, Zhang Zhongguo slumped on the chair like a puddle of mud. Zhang Damfeng had no choice but to give up his seat. He was as dejected as a frosted eggplant. After losing his position as the chairman of the Yanjin Software Pioneer Park, he could only take a small amount of dividends from the family fund. He couldn't even afford a paint job, let alone a Lamborghini. Chen Zhen Yilin, what are you waiting for? Under Zhang Jinghua's urging, Zhang Chenzhen was the first to stand up. He sat on the family lord's chair in a daze. He felt like he was dreaming. Can I do it? Sensing everyone's envious and expectant gazes, Zhang Yilin panicked. She couldn't believe it. I'm an archaeologist. I have nothing to do with the software industry. Moreover, the Yanjin Software Pioneer Park's assets were too huge. It occupied hundreds of acres of land in the South District, and there were dozens of high-tech startups in it. Its chairman was a big shot in the Yanjin business circle. With a stomp of his feet, the entire Yanjin and the software industry would be shaken. One word from him could mobilize billions of assets. He had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Yilin, you can do it. Everyone will support you. Although Zhang Yue was envious and jealous, she knew that the situation was hopeless. She took the lead with a smile. Yeah, everyone will support you. Everything can be learned. Isn't it easy to do business? Everyone expressed their support and encouragement. Then. I'll listen to Grandpa's arrangement. The image of Jiang Tian's tall back suddenly appeared in Zhang Yilin's mind. She felt that even if Big Brother Sword and Saber were to come at her, he would still be able to stop them. So, she stood up and sat on the seat that Zhang Damfeng gave her. Congratulations, Yilin. You should be the youngest chairman in Yanjin. Everyone congratulated her, but their hearts were filled with envy. Especially Zhang Damfeng, whose eyes were filled with uneasiness. Zhang Chenzhen was infertile. Zhang Yilin was adopted by them. She was already at the edge of the Zhang family. It could be said that Zhang Yilin was the least valued disciple of the Zhang family. A month ago, she was even punished by the family, and was almost beaten to death or frozen to death. However, she had risen to the top and became the leader of Yanjin. Zhang Danfeng, the prodigy of the Zhang family, had become an ordinary person. And all of this was brought about by Jiang Tian. This was what it meant when a man achieves the Tao. In fact, everyone knew that. Zhang Chenzhen was good at scientific research, but he was no match for Zhang Zhongguo when it came to relationships and business. He was even worse than Zhang Danfeng. The old man's arrangement was to curry favor with Jiang Tian, and tie Jiang Tian to their battleship. However, Zhang Danfeng was someone who knew when to yield, and when to stand tall. He made up his mind that he would climb up from where he fell. Even if he had to be Jiang Taichu's dog, he would still hug his thick thigh. Thank you, everyone. I will work hard. I will do my best. I won't let you down. Hearing everyone's congratulations, Zhang Yilin moved her buttocks and cupped her fists. She was in high spirits, but she gradually clenched her fists, and a trace of undetectable determination appeared in her eyes. Brother, you're too outstanding. You're like a star high up in the sky. If I don't make some achievements, how can I be worthy of being your sister? Zhang Jinghua, accompanied by third granduncle and the others, walked into the study and sat down while they discussed. Third granduncle smiled and said, Jinghua, you've made the right move. Although Jiang Tian has no feelings for the Zhang family and even hates them, his feelings for Cheng'en's family are very deep. Cheng'en's family is in control now. If the Zhang family has any difficulties in the future, Jiang Tian won't stand by and do nothing. Look at his unfathomable power and his wide circle of friends. The rise of the Zhang family is just around the corner. There's no other way. If I don't do this, I really wonder if the Zhang family can still survive. Zhang Jinghua smiled bitterly and said, I'm really old and blind. The real person is right in front of me, but I can't recognize him. I've underestimated this grandson of mine. Sigh, I don't expect the Zhang family to prosper. It's fine as long as we don't fall. Hee, Zhang Jinghua has given me a difficult problem. You're really old and shrewd. You're as fierce as a tiger. The next day, in the living room of Yuhua Villa, Jiang Tian took a sip of tea, looked at Zhang Qinzhen and his family who were on tenterhooks, and said with a meaningful smile. In fact, the Zhang family was surrounded by wolves and crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The fact that they could stand tall for several decades and even rise slightly in the rankings showed that Zhang Jinghua, Zhang Zhonghua, and Zhang Danfeng weren't fools. Although Zhang Qinzhen said that everything yesterday wasn't the old master's idea, it couldn't be hidden from Jiang Tian. Zhang Zhonggua's actions must have received the old master's approval. When he asked for money yesterday, why didn't Zhang Jinghua and his wife show up? That was because they had left some leeway. The reason why the Zhang family was at odds with Jiang Tian was that they were just a secular family. Their horizons were limited, and they couldn't reach that level. There were some things that they could never investigate or come into contact with. After truly understanding Jiang Tian's strength, Zhang Jinghua could be said to have acted decisively, and without the slightest hesitation. This operation was swift and fierce enough. This attitude was also clear enough. Chapter 527. Jiang Tian, I'm not going to be the head of the family if you're making things difficult for me. I'll regret it as soon as I make the promise. Ouch. Shen Xiaoyan gave Zhang Qinzhen a pinch as he spoke. Shen Xiaoyan smiled. Jiang Tian, a single silk thread cannot be made into a thread, and a single tree cannot make a forest. It's not that we're greedy for power and wealth, but it's good for you to have your fourth uncle in control of the family. Jiang Tian smiled but did not say anything. It would be strange if you don't like money and power. You were still wearing Uniqlo a month ago. Why are you wearing a mink coat now? Shen Xiaoyan smiled. Zhang Zhonghua was supposed to be promoted, but now that all the resources have been allocated to your fourth uncle, Zhang Zhonghua will not be promoted. Your fourth uncle will be promoted to the chief engineer of the military enterprise after the Chinese New Year. Won't that be good for your research and development of weapons? You'll be able to use a lot of resources. Not bad, fourth uncle. You'll be the chief engineer. The military corporation. Jiang Tian was not surprised by the exchange of benefits between the political and business families. He smiled and congratulated Zhang Qinzhen. Jiang Tian understood. Deep down, Zhang Qingen's fourth uncle's family wanted to be in power. They had been suppressed for too long. And now that they had power in their hands, it was understandable that they would not be able to do as they wished. Zhang Qinzhen quickly said, All right, I agree with all of that. Fourth uncle Yilin, do your best. Zhang Qinzhen smiled. Your grandparents still hope that you'll be able to come to the Zhang family and celebrate the spring festival together. I don't think so. It's not that I'm prejudiced against the Zhang family, but I'm afraid of crowds. Jiang Tian shook his head and looked at Jiang Zhixing and Zhang Qinzhen. But Dad, Mom, if you want to go, I won't stop you. Zhang Qinzhen could only nod. Sister, brother-in-law, you have to go. Zhang Wanqing hesitated for a moment, but eventually nodded slowly. Zhang Yilin smiled. Brother, I don't know anything about managing a business. You have to help me. I can help you. Don't worry. In the future, the internet queen of Wuxia will be you. Jiang Tian smiled. In his previous life in 2012 he was taken away from Earth by his master, the old fart, and embarked on the road of cultivation. But that didn't mean that he didn't know anything about the future of Wuxia. Hundreds of years later, when he reached the divine transformation realm, he crossed the void and came to Earth. He took Qing'er's remains and spent several years peacefully on Earth. During that period of time, he had read a lot of business and technological works and looked through a lot of documents. Therefore, he was very familiar with the development of the internet software industry in the next few decades. That's great! Zhang Yilin cheered. Jiang Tian looked at Zhang Qinzhen and said, I know what Zhang Jinghua is thinking. Tell him that without you, the Zhang clan has nothing to do with me. In the Zhang clan I only acknowledge you. Zhang Qinzhen nodded repeatedly. He knew that with Jiang Tian's words, it could be said that no one could shake his position. In the next few days, Jiang Zhixing and his wife went to the Zhang clan, and were warmly welcomed by the Zhang clan. Zhang Zhonghua and other key members, as well as the heads of the various branches, accompanied the couple to inspect the various properties under the Zhang clan. They toured the Forbidden City, the Great Wall of Badaling, and other places respectfully, as if they were important guests. For more than 20 years, Jiang Zhixing and his wife were not recognized and valued by the Zhang clan. They were depressed and felt as if there was a thorn in their heart. Now that they had returned to the Zhang clan, their status was high. It could be said that they were elated and happy. As for Jiang Tian, out of sight, out of mind. He didn't bother to see the Zhang clan, and didn't appear in the Zhang clan from beginning to end. On this day, Jiang Tian had just woken up, and was sitting on the dragon marrow spirit vein to cultivate when Zhang Qinzhen and his family came with Zhang Danfeng. Jiang Tian, I know you're busy. I shouldn't have troubled you, but there's something I'm afraid you have to do. What is it? Jiang Tian was surprised. The Zhang clan was quite a reputable family in Yanjin. There was nothing they couldn't solve. Yilin was engaged to Han Junkai, the young master of the Han family in Yanjin. But this kid is a rich playboy. He likes to eat, drink, and gamble. Zhang Yilin didn't agree, but he forced her. Zhang Qinzhen said. Beside him, Zhang Yilin lowered her head and wept silently. You clearly know that he is a hedonistic son of rich parents, a useless person. Why did you agree to it back then? Jiang Tian frowned. Our family had lost power in the Zhang clan. The old man had sacrificed Zhang Yilin in exchange for some political and business resources. Zhang Qinzhen lamented. After all, the Han family is one of the top 5 families in Yanjin, second only to the Song family, the Lu family, and the Xia family. At that time, the young master of the Han family didn't even like Zhang Yilin. Although he wasn't very capable, his family had a strong foundation. But now that Yilin has taken control of the Yanjin Software Pioneer Park, the young master of the Han family is jealous and wants to get married before the Spring Festival. Hearing this, Jiang Tian nodded slightly. Zhang Yilin is now the chairman of the Yanjin Software Pioneer Park and owns a lot of shares. With just a word, she can mobilize billions or even tens of billions of assets. Even if the Han family doesn't take it by force, it's already impressive if they use it. Zhang Danfeng added. Even though the Yanjin Software Pioneer Park is not a listed company, it has issued a lot of shares during its construction. The shares are very scattered. Now many of the shares of the minority shareholders have been bought out. After some investigation, we found out that the Han family is behind it. So, the other party has made a substantial move? Jiang Tian frowned and said. Yes. A few days ago, Han Junkai invited Yilin out and harassed her. Luckily, Zhang Huchen followed them all the way and nothing happened. Zhang Danfeng said. He has a death wish. Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows. A golden murderous intent flashed in his eyes. His face was as gloomy as water. At that time, Huchen and Han Junkai had a conflict. Zhang Yilin also expressed that she wanted to reconsider the marriage. Han Junkai then threatened to make the Zhang family suffer. Zhang Danfeng said. In a moment of desperation, Yilin told him about your relationship with the Zhang family, but he didn't believe her at all. Then the Zhang family made a move in the financial circle. The Han family is powerful. We can't afford to offend them. They'll devour the Zhang family. Shen Xiaoyan was anxious and helpless. She said with a sobbing voice, Jiang Tian, you love Yilin the most. I won't hide it from you. Yilin agreed to this marriage because of you. Mom, don't say any more. Zhang Yilin quickly stopped her. But Jiang Tian already knew what was going on. Fourth uncle's family had lost power. Zhang Yilin wanted to help him and the Jiang family at such a young age. Thinking of this, Jiang Tian's heart was moved. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will take care of this matter." "Thank you, brother. I've troubled you." Zhang Yilin's eyes were filled with joy. "But canceling the marriage will still embarrass the other party. Jiang Tian, you have to be careful with your words," Zhang Chenjian said worriedly. "Don't worry, I've had my marriage annulled before. I know where the minefield is. I have experience in handling it." Jiang Tian laughed. The other party was pressing him hard. He could not afford to delay. Jiang Tian did as he said. That morning, Jiang Tian brought fourth uncle's family and Zhang Damfeng to visit the Han family. Along the way, Zhang Damfeng introduced the Han family. Although the Han family was not a martial arts family, their ancestors were at the level of a great leader. After decades of hard work, the Han family had great influence in the energy mining industry in Wuxia. Their influence was not only in Yanjin, but also in Beha province and Jin province. The current head of the Han family, Han Batian, was the second-generation descendant of the Han family. He was already 70 years old. He used to be a descendant of the military, and was the spiritual leader of the older generation in Yanjin. He had a complicated background and a wide network. In terms of strength, the Han family was ranked in the top 5 in Yanjin. Even the Zhang family was a far cry from them. Han Juanxi's generation was already the 4th generation. When Jiang Tian was still on the road, the Han family heard that the Zhang family had come to discuss the marriage. They were all summoned to the meeting room. Not only the Han family, but many higher-ups also came. Moreover, those who were on good terms with the Han family, or those who relied on the Han family, were also invited, and were distributed in the courtyard. In a tea room, the current head of the Han family, Han Batian, sat at the head of the table and smiled smugly. Haha, Zhang Jinghua is smart. The Han family has always been close to Lin Fengnian's family. After the battle at Xianglu Mountain, they have also realized the terrifying power of martial artists. Sitting down, Han Junfeng, who was dressed in a custom-made suit, looked at Han Junkai and said with a smile, "Don't worry. Zhang Yilin hasn't even graduated from university. How can she control Yanjin? Junkai, you have to be smart and help her a few times to gain her trust. Within 10 years, you have to think of a way to snatch the shares of the Yanjing Software Pioneer Park and take control of it. This will be a great contribution to you." Han Junfeng was the young talent of the 4th generation of the Han family. He was also the spiritual leader of the younger generation in Yanjin. His strength, prospects, and influence far surpassed Zhang Damfeng and the others. Only Lu Lishuan, the young master of the Lu family, the top family in the mortal world, could obviously suppress him. Han Junfeng was only 30 years old, but he was already at the helm of the Jin Neng Group under the Ministry of Energy. He was comparable to the old central enterprises such as the Huaneng National Film Academy. According to the Administrative Division of State-Owned Enterprises, this young head of the Jin Neng Group was a true deputy minister. Even if the Administrative Division of State-Owned Enterprises was abolished one day, few people in the circle of rich people in Beijing would dare to underestimate Han Junfeng. "Don't worry, brother. I just signed up for the MBA CEO class at Qing University. There are a few professors who are experts in capital operation and equity management. Zhang Yilin is an idiot. Getting the shares of the Yanjin Software Pioneer Park is as easy as taking something out of her pocket." Beside him, Han Junkai crossed his legs and shook his Italian custom-made leather shoes that were studded with rhinestones as he smiled proudly. Han Juanxi's clothes were very luxurious, but his behavior was frivolous and his temperament was superficial. His body had been hollowed out by alcohol, women, and wealth. Chapter 528. Well, I will tell them later. Mr. Lin Fengnian will be the witness, and the Zhang family won't dare to do anything to him. Han Batian sipped his tea like a wise Mr. Zhuge. Then he lamented, "What a pity. Old Master Lin said that we can't invite Kong Teichu. Otherwise, we would be in a different league." "Don't worry about it." Han Junfeng cracked a smile and said, "Uncle Lin has already told Master Kong about Jin Neng's discovery of the flower in Sidoni. I heard that Master Kong was overjoyed and said that he would leave after the Spring Festival. With that thought in mind, Han Beishan's heart was filled with excitement. He said in a deep voice, "When the time comes, I will accompany him and take good care of him. How can I not be on good terms with Kong Taechu? Today is the engagement day. Who from the Lin family will be here?" One of the uncles in the seat asked curiously. "Lin Fengnian's beloved son Lin Tianlan," Han Batian said. The entire place turned solemn, and everyone was shocked. "I heard that Lin Tianlan has just finished his seclusion, and he is already a transcendent master. He is only 31 years old, and he has already reached such a level of cultivation. What an amazing talent! Lin Tianlan's presence brings light to our humble dwelling." A few seconds later, the sounds of discussion could be heard. Many of the Han family disciples present felt extremely honored. Their expressions were filled with excitement as they cried out in surprise. In fact, before Jiang Tian's rise, they had been estranged from the Lin family. However, when Kong Taechu's achievements began to spread to these secular families, they respected the martial arts Lin family even more. They had heard that an immortal state warrior could defeat an army by himself. Now that the Lin family was close to Kong Taechu, they couldn't afford to offend him. "You must treat him well. Don't be rude. This Lin Tianlan might become the second Kong Taechu." Han Daod, the father of Han Junkai and the head of the Han Financial Group, said in a deep voice. "Daod, watch your mouth." Hearing this, Han Batian was so frightened that his whole body trembled. In the entire martial arts world of Wuxia, there is only one arbiter, and that is Kong Taechu. If your words were to spread to the outside world, I'm afraid it would cause a lot of trouble. Everyone had a look of fear on their faces, and the entire place was strangely silent. Kong Taechu. These three words had already become a taboo in many secular clans. On the incense furnace peak, he killed 11 deities with one sword and destroyed the Bai family that had dominated Yanjin for hundreds of years, forcing the 6 top families to submit to him. Although the Han family had great influence in the secular world and could barely be ranked 5th, how could they compare to such a terrifying existence that could dominate the world and suppress an entire country? It was said that Kong Taechu was extremely powerful and could control the power of heaven and earth. He could fight against a country alone and shake an army. What was even more terrifying was that this person was ruthless and ruthless. He would kill people at the slightest provocation. No matter how rich and powerful the Han family was, could they be compared to the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society and the 28th Mixed Army and Air Force? Could they be compared to the Bai family that had 11 deities? If they offended him, their entire family would be quietly wiped out without even knowing how they died. However, Han Daod smiled contemptuously and said proudly, "Father, you don't have to be too afraid of Kong Taechu. He has the power to destroy the world, but he wouldn't dare to offend a top political and business family like us. You have to know that martial artists have a treaty that forbids them from wantonly killing people in the secular world, trampling on the law, and disrupting the order of the secular world." "But father, why would he dare to destroy the Bai family?" Han Junfeng asked in confusion. "Every circle has its own rules. The government won't interfere with the fighting and killing between martial artists. Basically, if the people don't report it, the government won't investigate. The Bai family and the Fu family are both martial arts families." Han Daod said. "Oh, I see. In other words, this treaty that martial artists are not allowed to disrupt the order of the secular world separates martial artists from the secular world." Everyone nodded and revealed an enlightened expression. So under normal circumstances, martial artists are very wary of the political and business families of the secular world. Basically, they will protect, rope in, and use them. They won't act recklessly. Han Daod said. The Bai family used the same strategy in the past. Otherwise, wouldn't the world be in chaos? Han Batian frowned and said, "Even so, we've never met Kong Taechu before. Moreover, it's said that this person is ruthless and merciless. He would kill people at the slightest provocation. It's better to be careful." "Jiang Tian, no, brother Tian, this is the Han family mansion." About half an hour later, the BMW X5 stopped in front of a mansion in the 4th Ring Road. Zhang Damfeng looked at the mansion enviously. It was a magnificent mansion, built in an antique style, with red walls and yellow glazed tiles. It was filled with a classical aura, occupying half of the street and stretching for 400 to 500 meters. In front of the vermilion lacquer door, which was inlaid with brass rivets the size of teacups, there were two ferocious-looking stone lions squatting on both sides. In 2010, the Fourth Ring Road had become very prosperous. There was a lot of traffic in high-rise buildings. It could be said that every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. The Han family is quite powerful. Seeing this, Jiang Tian sneered. In Yanjing, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, this small mansion took up a huge area. If this was not wealth, then what was? One should know that if this mansion was demolished and the land was sold, they could easily get tens of billions. Compared to the Han family mansion, the old mansion of the Zhang family was like a grass nest. It was not worth mentioning. It was no wonder that Zhang Danfeng was envious. Young Master Zhang, please wait for a moment. I'll go in and report. Seeing Jiang Tian walking in, the bodyguard at the door politely stopped him. However, there was a flash of disdain in his eyes. Zhang Danfeng was a little annoyed. The Han family's rules were quite strict. Damn it, you're talking to Kong Taichu. Just as he was about to lose his temper, Jiang Tian nodded and said, Okay, then I'll have to trouble you to report it. When the bodyguard went in to report, a silver Maserati stopped at the door. A man wearing branded clothes and an expensive watch with a Hermes belt around his waist walked out. Isn't this Jiang Tian, young Master Jiang? The man suddenly stopped in his tracks and stared at Jiang Tian for a moment. Then he suddenly let out a mocking smile. Do we know each other? Jiang Tian looked sideways and saw that the man was wearing a suit and leather shoes. He looked like a successful businessman. Next to him was a girl with exquisite makeup. She was wearing an expensive mink coat. Her makeup was exquisite, and her chin was held high. Her face was full of arrogance. Jiang Tian had some impression of the girl. She seemed to be a female celebrity in China. Heh, you're so forgetful. Seeing that Jiang Tian didn't recognize him, the man put his hands in his pockets and laughed disdainfully. Have you forgotten how servile you were in front of the Song family's young miss? Oh, so it's Boss Hu. Jiang Tian suddenly remembered this person. A trace of imperceptible sharpness flashed through his eyes. Boss Hu was the coal boss of Jin province. He was a famous tycoon in the local area. He was at least in the top 10. This kind of coal boss relied on political and business connections to make money. He had to stay in Yanjing for at least half a year. When Jiang Tian came to Yanjing to meet Song Shuangyan, he often appeared around the younger generation of the Song family. He was the spendthrift boss who paid the bill. Perhaps it was because of the Song family's hint. This Hu Yiba, who had a net worth of 10 billion at that time, repeatedly mocked and humiliated Jiang Tian. He brought endless humiliation to Jiang Tian. The reason why Song Shuangyan and the others did this was probably to let Jiang Tian understand the gap between him and the Song family and retreat. Look, your Jiang family's assets are only a few billion. It's not even comparable to the Song family's henchmen. If Jiang Tian took the initiative to retreat, the Song clan would not have to go back on their word and break the engagement. Hu Yiba sneered. Brother Jiang, you can't make friends with the Song family, so you want to make friends with the Han family? It's not that easy to enter the Han family's gate. It took me 20 years to enter the Han family's gate. If you want to make friends with them, work hard for another 20 years. After saying that, Hu Yiba walked towards the Han family's gate with his little celebrity lover. Boss Hu, you're here. Please come in. Several bodyguards obviously recognized Hu Yiba and immediately invited him in warmly. The Han family is trying to show us who's boss. How can the surnamed Hu compare to me? Seeing this scene, Zhang Danfeng was so angry that his face turned ashen. He gritted his teeth and fanned the flames in front of Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian wasn't moved. He even lit a cigarette and leisurely smoked. Brother Tian, aren't you going to do it? Zhang Danfeng was confused. Isn't it just a matter of minutes for you to flatten the Han family? Try peaceful means before resorting to force. Do you know how to destroy a person's confidence? Jiang Tian said calmly. Let them be arrogant first. When the enemy is at his most arrogant, then give him a fatal blow and trample him under his feet. When Hu Yibo walked into the Han family's mansion, many heads of the Han family's branches and rich bosses from all over the country came to greet him. Among them, there was no lack of mayors and other officials. There were also famous people on the list of the world's richest people. It's called a marriage alliance, but it's actually annexation. I heard that Zhang Yilin hasn't even graduated from university. She's just a little girl. She's easy to control. Young Master Han has Zhang Yilin under his thumb. When the time comes and Zhang Yilin becomes the head of the family, the entire Zhang family will fall into the hands of the Han family. If it really happens, then the Han family will have control over both the mining and military industries. Their words will carry a lot of weight in Wuxia. I'm afraid that they will be able to compete with the Lu family, Song family, and Xia family. The people in the Han family's camp were all paying attention and discussing this marriage alliance. They were all very pleased with themselves. The Zhang family is here. Young Master Han is here to welcome them. Someone shouted, and everyone turned to look at the main hall. They saw Han Junfeng, surrounded by Han Junkai and the other disciples, striding out in a majestic manner. Uncle Zhang Yilin Danfeng, thank you for your hard work. Congratulations on becoming the head of the family, Uncle Qinzhen. Congratulations. Han Junfeng cupped his fists and greeted Jiang Tian and the others with a joyful expression. Chapter 529. Han Junfeng was indeed one of the most talented young men in Yanjin. He was like a royal descendant of the heavens. His presence easily overpowered Zhang Qinzhen, Zhang Danfeng and many other tycoons. He is the prince of the Han family. He is so handsome. Look at this image, this aura. In a blink of an eye, many socialites looked at him with infatuation. Why didn't the lord of the Han family come out? A tycoon asked. He came out to welcome Zhang Qinzhen and Zhang Danfeng? That's too embarrassing. The Zhang family's ranking is almost in the top 20. Even if Zhang Jinghua came in person, Han Junfeng would be giving him face by receiving him. Someone at the side laughed disdainfully. Nice to meet you, Lord Han. Zhang Qinzhen knew that the Han family was looking down on him. However, he was not a talkative person. After they shook hands, he introduced Jiang Tian. This is the Prince of Medicine King Group, Jiang Tian. He is Yilin's cousin, and is very close to Yilin. Today he is the representative of the Zhang family to discuss the marriage with the Han family. Mr. Jiang from Medicine King Group? I have heard a lot about you. I have heard that Mr. Jiang is an expert in the art of medicine. You are very famous in South Korea for defeating the TKM application. Han Junfeng smiled and shook hands with Jiang Tian. However, a glint of suspicion flashed in his eyes. Zhang Qinzhen and Danfeng were both here. Why would he be the one to discuss the marriage with Han Junfeng? Nice to meet you, Lord Han. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. After shaking hands with Han Junfeng, he extended his hand to shake hands with Han Junkai. However, Han Junkai looked at Chen Fan with disdain and pretended that he was talking to someone else. Jiang Tian furrowed his brows but did not overreact. Among the crowd, a beautiful woman scoffed. Does he deserve to be called the prince in front of Lord Han? What a joke! What a frog in a well! How dare they use the title of a small place to embarrass themselves in Beijing? What an arrogant fool! The others all curled their lips, their faces full of disdain, as if Jiang Tian was a swindler fishing for fame. In the eyes of the top nobles of Wuxia, a medical family or a scholarly family was not even worth mentioning. The voices of these people were not soft. Jiang Tian's mind was tranquil. How could he care about the provocation of these ants? When Zhang Qinzhen and the others heard this, they frowned and looked at Han Junfeng, hoping that he would say something. But Han Junfeng acted as if he didn't hear it. He smiled and greeted, "Everyone, please come in." The group of people came to a reception hall and sat down. The servants served fragrant tea and snacks. After some small talk, Han Junfeng smiled and said, "Mr. Jiang, our Han family hopes to hold the wedding as soon as possible and get things done. Let's discuss the specific process." Jiang Tian shook his head lightly and said, "Young Master Han, to tell you the truth, I'm here today to cancel the engagement." "Annul the engagement?" Han Junkai was stunned and said in disbelief, "Are you sure you're not wrong?" Shouldn't you be begging me to marry your cousin? Mr. Jiang, is there something wrong with my ears? Han Juanfeng's face also stiffened, and a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. He then forced a smile and said, You said cancel the engagement? Yes, that's right, cancel the engagement. Jiang Tian said lightly. Fuck. What the fuck? Han Junkai was furious and smiled sinisterly. Is the Zhang family making fun of us? Trampling on the Han family's face? Do you know that I can annihilate the Zhang clan with just a word? Han Junfeng frowned and scolded. Junkai, don't be rude to the guests. We can talk about it slowly. Han Junkai was still quite afraid of this big brother, so he held back his anger and didn't speak. But he stared at Jiang Tian and the other Zhang family members with a murderous gaze. I know, Yilin is very outstanding, and now she has Yan Wuan under her control. She is a Yanjin socialite. My brother is ignorant and incompetent, and he is indeed trying to climb the social ladder. Han Junfeng was indeed one of the most powerful people in Yanjin. He quickly calmed down and said with a smile, I will train him well. After the new year, he will be the head of the strategic investment department of the Gold Neng Group. I believe that he will grow up very quickly. That's right. Do you think I am not good enough for her? Han Junkai shook his shiny shoes and said proudly, This is not a matter of whether you are good enough for her or not. Jiang Tian said lightly, Zhang Yilin has no feelings for you. So this engagement must be cancelled. Of course, we will also compensate you appropriately. A few $100 million is not a problem. If you feel embarrassed, then you can announce the cancellation of the engagement. How about this? Jiang Tian's words gave the Han clan a lot of face. He also took care of the benefits and benefits. He could be said to be extremely benevolent. Han Junfeng smiled and said, Jiang Tian, you may not know this, but the marriage between the Zhang family and the Han family is in line with the strategic interests of the two families. It was also decided by my grandfather and Mr. Zhang Jinghua. The benefits are not just a few $100 million or a few billion. Also, if Yilin and my brother can get married, then the Jiang family will be relatives of the Han family. How can I treat the Jiang family unfairly? With me around, no one would dare to mess with the Jiang family and the Medicine King Group. Lord Han, Yilin is like a sister to me. All I want is for her to be happy. Jiang Tian stood up, bowed slightly and cupped his fists. You can name any conditions you want, but this engagement must be cancelled. I hope Lord Han can fulfill my wish. Cousin. Seeing this scene, Zhang Yilin's tears instantly burst out. What kind of person was her cousin? He could suppress a country by himself. And his reputation as a martial arts adjudicator shook the world. Even Chen Zifen was suppressed by him in Yanjin. He had killed 11 gods and destroyed the Bai family. Many top families in Yanjin had to kneel down and submit to him. How domineering was that? How glorious and peerless was that? How peerless was that? However, he was willing to put down his dignity and beg Han Junfeng for her sake. Is this also the Zhang family's decision? Seeing this, Han Juanfeng's sharp gaze swept over Zhang Qinzhen and the others. Zhang Qinzhen and Zhang Damfeng nodded. Seeing Jiang Tian lower his head, Han Junfeng despised Jiang Tian even more, but he was also getting angry. Jiang Tian, do you know what the consequences are for humiliating the Han family in Yanjin? He suddenly laughed out loud. His slightly widened eyes suddenly turned cold as he said in a cold voice, That's right. If I wanted to deal with the Zhang family in Beijing, I could do it with a wave of my hand. It would be a piece of cake. He leaned against the sofa and grinned. But seeing how sincere you are, I don't want to take care of you. I want 20% of the shares of the Yenro Group. Jiang Tian, if you want to stand up for your sister, then I want 10% of the shares of the Medicine King Group. Han Junfeng, are you robbing me? Hearing this, Zhang Yilin flew into a rage. She was so angry that her whole body trembled. She pointed at Han Junfeng and shouted angrily, Lord Feng, that's too much. Zhang Damfeng's face also darkened. He frowned and said, The Zhang family only has 20% of the shares of the Yenro Group. 10% of the shares of the Medicine King Group is worth over 10 billion. You are too greedy. Jiang Tian was slightly stunned, and then he laughed out of extreme anger. Han Junfeng, I've done my best and given you enough face. If you continue to cause trouble, then don't blame me for being merciless. Fall out. Show it to me, Han Junfeng said with a disdainful smile. Little girl, do you know who you are talking to? Seeing that Jiang Tian was being disrespectful and Zhang Yilin was pointing at his brother, Han Junfeng sneered. Even if Zhang Jinghua were here, he wouldn't dare to call my brother's name. If it weren't for the Han family, the Zhang family and the Jiang family would have been swallowed by the Song family. Zhang Yilin, I don't know how many socialites and heiresses in Yanjin and the northern provinces want to marry me. Letting you marry me, it was your grandfather who bitterly begged for it. He pointed at Zhang Yilin and said disdainfully, Who do you think you are? I heard that you went to the nightclub to drink and sleep with Jiang Tian to save him. I don't know how many men you have slept with. Are you some kind of chaste woman? It is your blessing that I am willing to marry you. Cherish it. Yilin. Hearing this, Jiang Tian's heart surged. He looked at Zhang Yilin with pity and surprise. He knew that Zhang Yilin had suffered a lot for him, but he had never thought that Zhang Yilin would suffer so much. Brother, I didn't sleep with anyone. I didn't let anyone touch me. Seeing Jiang Tian looking over, Zhang Yilin felt extremely wronged and sad in her heart. She burst into tears, tears falling like rain. Don't be sad. Jiang Tian rubbed her little head, then a golden light flashed in his eyes. He looked at Han Junkai and scolded harshly. Kneel down and apologize to Zhang Yilin, and I will spare your life. Jiang Tian used the demonic dragon roar, and the sound was like a thunderclap. Suddenly, the entire courtyard was shaken. Many guests were drinking tea and chatting in the courtyard. Even the chairman of the Han group, Han Daud, stood up and looked at the direction of the hall. Why are they quarreling? Han Batian frowned but didn't take it to heart. Daud, go and have a look. Okay. As soon as Han Daud walked out, all the guests in the Han family mansion were startled. They all walked toward the hall where Jiang Tian was. Is it the young Lord Jiang you know? Is he trying to stir up trouble? Hu Yiba's celebrity girlfriend's face turned pale. She pulled his arm and said nervously, Hee, the Medicine King Group is only worth a few $100 billion, and the Jiang Tian shares are only worth a few $100 billion. How can Jiang Tian challenge the Han family? He is scared to death. Hu Yiba laughed disdainfully as if he had seen through a fire. The Han family's assets are worth a few $100 billion. They are secretly rich and have been around for decades. This is the Han family mansion. There are surveillance cameras everywhere and dozens of armed bodyguards. I heard that they even have a martial arts master. Even an internal force master would have to die, let alone a nouveau riche like Jiang Tian. A martial arts master. The Han family is so powerful that they have a legendary martial arts master. The little star covered her cherry red lips with her small hands and cried out. Her eyes were full of worship. The two of them also got up and hurriedly walked to the front of the living room. Chapter 530. Jiang Tian didn't use his full power, so everyone calmed down after a brief moment of dizziness. Today, the Han family had gathered many guests, but they were greeted by the news that the engagement had been annulled. Who do you think you are? I call you Mr. Jiang because I respect you. If I don't respect you, you are just a country bumpkin. How could the arrogant Han Junkai stand it? He flew into a rage and directly pulled out a pistol, slammed it on the table and cursed. Damn it! How dare you make me kneel in front of the Han family? Do you want to die? Kneel down before me, or I will kill you. Zhang Yilin, that bitch. I will fuck her every time I see her. Cousin. Zhang Yilin grabbed Jiang Tian's hand with fear in her eyes. Han Junkai thought that Zhang Yilin was afraid, but they didn't know that Zhang Yilin was worried that Jiang Tian would destroy the Han family. Jiang Tian was not afraid of bullets. He was a terrifying existence that could wipe out the Bai family with a single word. Han Junkai took out his gun in front of Jiang Tian. He must be tired of living. Haha, Zhang Yilin, are you afraid now? What have you been doing? Han Junkai sneered. Zhang Yilin, you are too stubborn. It was supposed to be a happy occasion, but it has turned into a funeral. Han Junfeng sighed and shook his head in disappointment. As the crown prince of the Medicine King, Jiang Tian was a powerful figure in the eyes of ordinary people. However, in Han Juanfeng's eyes, he was just an ant that he could kill easily. Not to mention that his younger brother was threatening him with a gun. Even if he really killed him, he could just find a martyr to take the blame. What could the Jiang family and the Zhang family do? Yes, it is going to be a funeral. Hearing that Han Junkai was threatening Zhang Yilin, Jiang Tian was annoyed. He gently pried Zhang Yilin's hand away, took a step forward, and sighed regretfully. He sighed and said, "I am here to solve the problem. I have shown you enough respect, but you don't know your place. If so, don't blame me for being merciless. There are so many people in the Han family. I wonder if you have prepared enough coffins." Jiang Tian's tone was very calm, but the murderous intent on his face grew heavier and heavier. A frightening light flickered in his pupils. "What did you say? This is the Han clan. You can't just—" Hearing this, Han Junkai was enraged. He stood up, grabbed the gun, and aimed at Jiang Tian. Pa! Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped him. Han Junkai flew out of the door like a rag doll, smashing into a fake mountain before falling to the ground. "Jiang Tian, how dare you hit me?" Seeing this, Han Junfeng was shocked and angry. His face darkened and he shouted loudly, "Where are the bodyguards? Where is Brother Chong? Hurry up and come in and take care of this brat for me. Master Feng. It's here. He's here." When the bodyguard captain Lai Shenxiang, who was guarding outside, saw this, he immediately rushed in with a dozen bodyguards and glared fiercely at Jiang Tian. He hated that this kid was too arrogant. How dare he hit someone in the Han family, especially Han Junkai. Many important people in the Han family had come to congratulate him. After this incident, he could forget about his bonus for the year. He might even be kicked out of the Han family. "Kill this kid. Son of a bitch. How dare you cause trouble in the Han family? Do you know where you are?" Without waiting for Han Juanfeng's order, Lai Shenxiang and many of his men charged at Jiang Tian with batons, swords and other weapons in their hands. Their faces were ferocious and their attacks were merciless. It was as if they wanted to cut Jiang Tian into pieces to vent their anger. "Get lost." In response, Jiang Tian only waved his hand casually. Boom. With a bang, a surging force was released. This invisible force was like the palm of a giant spirit god. It was unstoppable and possessed the power to destroy everything in its path. Swish. Lai Shenxiang was the first to be hit. It was as if he had been hit by a high-speed train. Blood spurted out, and his body was torn into pieces. Then, swish, 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 swish. The dozen bodyguards flew out of the door in different postures. All of them were bleeding from their 7 orifices, and their bones were broken. They had completely lost their ability to fight. The terrifying force didn't stop there. Crack, crack. The solid wooden floor cracked, and then the wooden door, stairs, and stone pillars were all smashed into a mess. The terrifying force pushed them more than 10 meters into the courtyard, and even the rockery shook violently before collapsing with a loud rumble. The entire place was silent. Han Junfeng and a few of the younger members of the Han family, Zhang Chenzhen, and the other members of the Zhang family were dumbfounded. It was as if Jiang Tian had thrown out a bulldozer with a wave of his hand, crushing the floor, smashing through the door lintel, then continuously smashing through the flower beds, stone pillars, stairs, decorations, and finally smashing through the fake mountain. It spread from Jiang Tian's feet to the fake mountain pond. It was as if a bulldozer had pushed through it. It was a mess. Jiang Tian had only used 30% of his strength, but it was terrifying to such an extent. Jiang Tian walked leisurely to the ashen-faced Han Junfeng and said lightly, "I gave you a chance before, but you didn't cherish it. Don't blame me. Fuck. This kid is a martial artist." No matter how arrogant Han Junfeng was, or how powerful his family background was, he couldn't help but tremble in fear. His limbs were cold and he was panicking. He was just an ordinary person. When had he ever seen such monstrous power? It was as if he was a demon god. "Madman! Stop!" It was also at this moment that an explosive shout rang out. Han Dao had arrived just in time. He was surrounded by a group of extraordinary rich and high-ranking officials. Han Dao was like a lion patrolling its territory. He had a stern demeanor and walked over with a majestic gait. Seeing him come in person, The Han family members were overjoyed. Han Junfeng acted as if he had seen his savior. He quickly shouted, "Dad." Behind Han Dao were the family head Han Batian and other high-ranking officials of the Han family. The leaders of the various branches and Hu Yibo were also there to congratulate him. "Jiang Tian, my father is here. Even the family head is here. Let's see how long you can be so arrogant." Han Junfeng smirked smugly. Seeing this, Zhang Damfeng quickly stepped forward and said in a threatening tone, "Uncle Han, to be honest, this is Jiang. Get out of my way." Han Dao was furious when he saw his son's injured state. He raised his hand and slapped Zhang Danfeng. Han Dao used to be the minister of the Wuxia Petroleum Group, and then the second in command of the National Energy Commission. He was on the same level as Zhang Zhonggua and had far more influence in the political world. Even when he saw Zhang Zhonggua, he did not show any respect, let alone Zhang Zhonggua's son. In his rage, he directly slapped him. Zhang Damfeng was a smooth and slick person. He didn't want to ruin their relationship, so he wanted to tell Han Dao about Jiang Tian's real identity to intimidate him. However, he didn't expect that his good intentions would be taken for granted, and he was slapped for nothing. "Alright, Uncle Han, I'll get out of your way. You'll regret it later." He wasn't angry at all. Instead, he sneered and stepped aside, gloating over Han Dao's misfortune. "Did you hit him?" Han Dao ignored him, and only stared fixedly at Jiang Tian, his face full of resentment. Many of the surrounding guests looked at Jiang Tian with shock and bewilderment. They didn't expect this young man to be so powerful. Was he going to destroy the Han family? However, even if he had some skills, he shouldn't have acted rashly in front of the Han family. "Sai, I remember when he was facing the daughter of the Song family. He knew when to advance and retreat. Why is his temper so bad now? You think you're so great just because you made a small fortune? Do you think you can compete with the Han family just because you have a few billion?" Hu Yibo looked at Jiang Tian coldly and shook his head mockingly, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. After listening to Zhang Yilin's explanation of the Han family's identity, Jiang Tian looked at Han Junfeng and said with a cold smile, "Do you all think that you can save this bastard just because the few of you came?" Han Junfeng was shocked and had a bad premonition. "Jiang, do you still dare to hit people? Congratulations, you even know how to answer first." Jiang Tian snorted and waved his hand as if he was brushing away dust. Kaboom! Han Junfeng flew out like a rag doll. He crashed into an antique shelf and the back wall before he slowly slid down. He had broken countless bones all over his body. He was in so much pain that he rolled on the ground and screamed like a dying dog. "You're so arrogant." Everyone's expression changed. Han Dao was even more furious. He gritted his teeth and the muscles on his cheeks twitched as if he wanted to eat Jiang Tian alive. The former chairman of the Wuxia Petroleum Group with assets of 7 trillion was really angry. Even Zhang Danfeng, Zhang Chenzhen and Zhang Yilin were stunned. They had heard of Jiang Tian's domineering and aggressive style, but seeing it for themselves was better than hearing 100 times. The shock they felt at this moment was incomparably real. "Sai, now I've finally seen Kang Teichu's peerless demeanor. He even dared to hit Han Junfeng. Awesome." Zhang Danfeng was full of admiration. Then he felt a sense of balance in his heart. Even Han Junfeng and his brother were beaten by him. "What's the big deal about me? So, you're a martial arts master. But do you think you can come to the Han family with just that little bit of martial arts?" Han Dao gritted his teeth and grinned. He then turned to an old man and said, "Brother Zhang. Leave it to me, Chairman Han. My broadsword is thirsty for blood." The old man grinned as his battle chi surged, and he stepped out of the crowd. He was wearing a black jacket, old cloth shoes, a waist belt and leggings. He carried a red tasseled broadsword on his back, which was very different from the people around him who were dressed in suits and leather shoes. His hair was already white and he was in his 60s. However, when he opened and closed his eyes, he was full of vigor and walked like the wind. "This is the master of the 5 Tigers blade art, Zhang Shisan. I heard that he can already release broadsword chi. He is a real grandmaster of martial arts. He can dominate anywhere." Seeing that he was about to attack, Hu Yibo suddenly narrowed his eyes and whispered to his female celebrity lover, Those who had some understanding of the martial arts world were shocked when they heard Hu Yiba's words. A grandmaster was like a divine dragon. They were characters in the clouds, high and mighty. Zhang Shusan was so powerful that he could be called a grandmaster. However, he was in charge of the Han family. I heard that the reason why the Han family has been standing for decades is that they have such a great grandmaster. It should be him. Someone exclaimed with a strange look in his eyes. Chapter 531. Yes, it's him. Among the crowd, a tall and beautiful woman in a long Prada windbreaker snorted proudly. Her makeup was exquisite. Her temperament was pure like water, and her eyes were as clear as crystal. 13th uncle is a consecrator that my father spent hundreds of millions of gold to invite. He was invincible in several cities of Yunzhou. 20 years ago he was the martial arts consultant of Zhanlong, known as the 13 Undefeated. Her eyes were full of disdain as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. This woman was called Han Qingli, the youngest daughter of Han Daod and the sister of Han Junfeng. She was born in an extraordinary family, and she was both intelligent and beautiful. She was one of the 4 beauties of Yanjin. Then this kid is really in danger today. Hearing this, some people shook their heads and sighed, while others gloated. Brat, you shouldn't have come to the Han clan to act so presumptuously. Since you are a genius, I won't kill you. I'll just cripple your legs to teach you a lesson. Zhang Shusan slowly pulled out his long blade and walked toward Jiang Tian while shaking his head and sighing. Sure enough, it has produced blade qi. Someone exclaimed. The moment the blade was unsheathed, the entire hall became cold as if the temperature had dropped by a few degrees. People couldn't help but shiver. Zhang Shusan, Zhang Qitian, and Zhang Mingli all perished at Moling Lake. The saber talent of the 5 tigers breaking gate has withered. Now all that's left is wild saber Zhanglang, who hasn't even reached the transcendent realm. Jiang Tian held the teacup and took a sip as he said lazily. Who are you? How do you know these secrets? Hearing this, Zhang Shusan's body suddenly froze on the spot and asked in disbelief. In Zhanlong, Zhang Qitian was defeated by my silk ribbon. On Moling Lake, they died in front of my eyes. Jiang Tian sighed with a little regret. Unfortunately, it happened so suddenly that I couldn't save them. May I ask if Mr. Jiang is from Jinling? Zhang Shusan's heart sank and asked tentatively. His body was already trembling in fear. Oh, I didn't expect you to come. I'm your fan. Big Saber Bro from the Warrior Forum. Hearing this, Zhang Shusan was shocked. As if he had seen a god, he threw away his saber and bowed his head. The 5 tigers sect-breaking saber technique could be considered to be related to Jiang Tian. As the younger brother of Zhang Wendao of the saber school of the 5 tigers, how could Zhang Shusan not know Kong Teichu's name? Since Jiang Tian's Pushri nation shook East Asia and destroyed the Bai family, almost thousands of sects in the martial arts world of Wuxia had submitted to him. He was only an initial success transcendent state cultivator. Facing Jiang Tian, who had killed 11 gods in a row, he felt as weak as an ant. Moreover, he truly worshipped Jiang Tian. After all, the Zhang family and Zhanlong had always cooperated with each other. Many people had died in the hands of international enemies. Regardless of whether it was Jiang Tian killing Xiaobin or dominating Singapore and Japan, he was full of admiration for Jiang Tian. He had long since become a fanatic of Jiang Tian. Brother Shusan, what are you doing? Han Daod was dumbfounded. Han Qingli and the others were perplexed. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Zhang Shusan, the top fighter of the 5 tigers sect-breaking saber technique, and the former consultant of Zhanlong, was Jiang Tian's fan? Fuck, this can't be right. Zhang Shusan should know that Jiang Tian is from Jin City. What's so great about him? Why did he kneel? Hu Yiba frowned and racked his brain, but he couldn't think of a reason. Kong Teichu shook Wuxia, but only a few people knew that Jiang Tian was Kong Teichu. On the one hand, Jiang Tian strictly forbade the Heavenly Alliance and many insiders from spreading the news to protect his family. In addition, the governments of various countries also kept this kind of supernatural power a secret. On the other hand, almost everyone who was in the know would guard this information to the death, and would never reveal it. The reason was simple. In the eyes of insiders, Jiang Tian, who had unpredictable power, was like a mountain of gold, whose value was immeasurable. If one more person knew about it, one more person would share this mountain of gold, which would weaken and encroach on their interests. Chen Zifen and the other family heads of the 6 major martial arts families would never allow any political or business family in Yanjing to contact Jiang Tian privately without their knowledge. It was just like the strict hierarchy in the officialdom forbade people from reporting beyond their level. This was because no one knew if there would be someone who would obtain Jiang Tian's approval and regard highly. This would weaken their position. Mr. 13, is this Mr. Jiang? Han Batian was indeed the family head. He had been dealing with Lin Fengyan's family for a long time, so he instantly thought of that possibility through various signs. He couldn't help but be shocked and ask in a trembling voice. Yes. That's right. I've told you more than once about Master Kang's incredible achievements. Zhang Shursan's face was full of anxiety. He clearly meant that Han Batian was in trouble if he didn't admit his mistake. Assis. Han Batian gasped and trembled in fear. He hurried a few steps forward, bowed and said in the most respectful tone he had ever used in his life. I'm Han Batian, the family head of the Han family. It's an honor to meet Master Kong. I didn't know Master Kong was here. Please forgive me for offending you, Master Kong. Kong Teichu, the martial arts arbiter. Once invincible in East Asia and Southeast Asia, he destroyed the Bai family and forced the 6 major martial arts families of Yanjing to submit to him. How could the Han family dare to offend such a powerful person? Master Kong? What Master Kong? How could he force the family head of the Han family to submit to him? Everyone was shocked and confused, as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Oh my God! Could he be the adjudicator of martial arts? He's so handsome. Han Qingli's body trembled slightly as she stared at Jiang Tian. It was as if this was the first time she had met Jiang Tian. She became more and more mesmerized by Chen Fan as her chest heaved up and down. Even her breathing quickened. There are a few people in the Han family who are good at discerning people. Jiang Tian cracked a mocking smile. Very well. Now that you know who I am, you have to give me an explanation. Master Kong, of course, of course. Han Batian bowed and nodded repeatedly. Then he winked at Han Qingli. My grandpa and Jiang Tian have something important to discuss. Please leave us alone. Han Qingli smiled and immediately asked everyone except for the core members of the Han family to leave the room. This was the time for the Han family to bow their heads and admit defeat. They did not know what Kong Teichu would do to them, so they could not let anyone see it. Since you know who I am, Kong Teichu, how could you bully my cousin? Do you think that I, Kong Teichu, would not dare to destroy your entire Han family? In an instant, the situation took a turn for the worse. Jiang Tian took the initiative and sat on the chair. He took a cup of tea from Zhang Yilin, and slowly took a sip as he said indifferently. Han Batian shivered and said, Master Kong, we did not know about the relationship between the Jiang family and the Zhang family. If we had known, we would not have dared to offend the Zhang family. I sincerely apologize to Master Kong. You think you can explain it by saying that you did not know? If I destroy your entire family and say that I don't know who you are, would you accept it? Apologize? If an apology is useful, what's the use of the police? Jiang Tian said coldly as he swirled the teacup in his hand. Han Dao didn't know much about how terrifying Jiang Tian was, so he didn't think that Jiang Tian would dare to make a move against the political and business families. Master Kong, my father has already given in and apologized sincerely. What else do you want? Do you really want to destroy my Han family? Han Dao, looks like you think too highly of yourself. Don't you know what I, Kong Teichu, am capable of? Jiang Tian said coldly. That bastard son of yours, Han Junkai, once drugged my sister with ill intentions. After he failed, he even threatened to destroy the Zhang family and take over Yanruan's shares. Today, when I came to cancel the engagement, he took out a gun and tried to kill me. Tell me, should I kill him? Fine. Kong Teichu, I know you are ruthless. Han Dao was so angry that he laughed. He ignored Han Batian's tug and said coldly, even though the Han family is not powerful, we are still one of the top families in Wuxia. You don't have the right to do anything to us. Han Dao's words were brimming with confidence. Jiang Taichu was indeed powerful, but the Han family was also very influential in the secular world. Moreover, there was a martial Dao convention that restricted martial artists. Even when the Bai family was still in power, they didn't dare to say that they could destroy the Han family and kill them whenever they wanted. Han Batian, is this what you want as well? Do you want to see what I, Kong Taichu, am capable of? Jiang Tian looked at Han Batian and asked coldly. This old man wouldn't dare. Han Batian was taken aback. He quickly bowed and said, Master Kong, what do you want? Please tell me. If this old man can do it, I will do it. Han Junkai wanted to kill me, so I killed him. It's not too much, right? The Han family wants to take over the Han family's assets, so give us 10% of the Han Group's shares. It's not too much, right? After Jiang Tian said that, Han Baishan's body trembled. His eyes flashed as he calculated quickly. Kong Taichu was indeed powerful. He had destroyed the Bai family before, but the Bai family was a martial arts family. The government had always turned a blind eye to the killings between martial arts families. He had also defeated the 28th Japanese Air Force Brigade, but that was overseas. Jiang Tian could do whatever he wanted. Jiang Tian's friends, family, and assets were all in Wuxia, so he should have some scruples. If Jiang Tian dared to destroy the Han family, it would be tantamount to breaking the martial arts treaty. He would become a public nuisance that everyone hated. The other families such as the Lu family, the Xia family, and the Song family would not stand by and do nothing. Therefore, the key was the comparison of power in the secular world. Kong Taichu might not be as powerful as the Han family, so he might not dare to make a move. With that thought in mind, he said tentatively, Master Kong, Han Junkai should be killed for offending Master Kong. However, it was an unintentional offense. The old man will punish him according to his family's law. I will break his limbs and kick him out of Wuxia. However, I can give you 5 more shares. What do you think? You still want to bargain with me? What right do you have? Jiang Tian's sword-like eyebrows slightly raised, his eyes filled with killing intent as he coldly asked. Han Batian couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. His originally stooped body suddenly straightened, suddenly becoming as majestic as a mountain. A faint pressure was emitted as he coldly said, Grandmaster Jiang, I know you're a martial arts adjudicator, but you're only a martial arts adjudicator. Our House of Han is a political and business family. Naturally, you can't use the methods of the martial arts world against us. If you want to sue us, we will accompany you to the end. Chapter 532. Do you think I don't dare? Then give it a try. Jiang Tian's eyes suddenly turned cold as he sneered. Just then, a clear voice was heard. Who dares to cause trouble in the Han family? Don't you know that the Han family is a friend of the Lin family? Lin Tianlan is here. The guests in the courtyard and the Han family members in the hall were shocked. They all looked at the door. Everyone raised their heads and saw a young man with a body as straight as a sword and a strong aura walking quickly, accompanied by Han Junkai. This looks like Lin Tianlan. Why is he here? Someone who knew him exclaimed. The crown prince of the Lin family. Lin Fengmian's biological son. A martial arts family that has stood for 200 years from the end of the Qing dynasty to the northern warlords to the new regime. More people lowered their heads in awe and bowed deeply, not daring to look him in the eyes. Unlike the Han family, the Lin family was a real martial arts family. 100 years ago, the Lin family's great-grandfather was Duan Qirui's guest of honor. They dominated Yanjin and Wuxia. Later they surrendered, but their power was still strong. It was said that the Lin family's power had infiltrated many countries in Africa. The heads of their companies were all warlords and guests of the governments. Moreover, the Han family was very influential in the martial arts world. They were on good terms with the Bai family and other martial arts families, as well as many hidden sections. This kind of century-old aristocratic family had a few peerless masters at the master level. They had not fallen even after hundreds of years of ups and downs. Their strength was not something the Han family could compare with. Tianlan, you're here. Han Dao was overjoyed to see Lin Tianlan. Jiang Tian's might was something that even he, the leader of the Han family financial group, couldn't handle. The key was that he was wary of the power behind Jiang Tian. However, it was different with the Han family and the Lin family's help. This was a martial arts family. Few people could make the Lin family bow to them in Wuxia. Even if Kong Taichu was the arbiter, he still had to show some respect to the Lin family. After all, back then, the Bai family was so powerful that they had to rely heavily on the support of the Lin family. On the other hand, Jiang Tian had just grown up and his foundation was not stable. He needed the support of a martial arts family like the Lin family. Uncle Han, Junkai called me and said that someone was causing trouble in the Lin family, so I rushed over. Lin Tianlan cupped his fists and said, Good. Tianlan, you came at the right time. Even Han Batian was overjoyed. As the only heir of the Lin family, Lin Tianlan's presence was equivalent to Lin Fengmian's presence. Although Lin Tianlan couldn't challenge Kong Taichu, he could at least mediate. Young Master Lin, this is the Jinling thief who injured me. What's his name? His name? Han Junkai limped forward and fiercely pointed at Jiang Tian. Suddenly he felt pain in his leg. He guessed that his leg was fractured. He grimaced in pain and took a deep breath. Lin Tianlan was hot-tempered and had just come out of seclusion. He wanted to meet a few masters to stretch his muscles. Before he could finish, he flew into a rage and made a grabbing motion with his right hand. At the side, the sword in the hands of the exceptionally beautiful maid moved by itself, even though there was no wind. It drew a streak of resplendent light as it jumped into her hands. He stood proudly with the sword in his hand and pointed at Jiang Tian. Humph, you are quite something. With the sword in his hand, his temperament suddenly changed. He was like a peerless swordsman. The sword chi soared into the sky and shone down on the room. Everyone was chilled. The people around him retreated 20 or 30 meters before they felt better. Transcendent state. A transcendent master. Many people cried out in surprise. Their faces were filled with admiration and fear. Then Han Junkai felt the pain in his leg subsided. He said, his name is Jiang Tian, the prince of the Medicine King group. Damn you. For a moment, Lin Tianlan wanted to cry. The prince of the Medicine King group was Kong Taichu. Why didn't you say so earlier? Even my dad didn't dare to provoke him. In a moment of desperation, he flopped onto the ground. He knelt on the ground, trembling as he said, Grandmaster Jiang. Young Master Lin, why are you kneeling down? Aren't you going to kill me with the sword? Jiang Tian sipped his tea and asked curiously. A sword for a hero. Lin Tianlan held the sword with both hands, raised it over his head, and handed it over respectfully. Tianlan has long heard of Grandmaster Jiang's powerful cultivation and brilliant battle record. You once defeated the 28th Japanese Mixed Army and Air Force Regiment by yourself. I admire you very much. At that time, I was in seclusion. I only wished that I could follow Grandmaster Jiang to the battlefield and show the prestige of our country. This sword is a gift from me to Grandmaster Jiang. Haha. Zhang Yilin burst out laughing. When Lin Tianlan came here, he was arrogant and domineering. Who would have thought that he would kneel down so quickly after knowing his brother's identity? Who knew how he came up with this line? He was quite quick-witted. Get up. If it weren't for Lin Fengmian, I would have killed you. Jiang Tian smiled coldly. Lin Tianlan stood up and bowed deeply again. Master Kong, the Han family has been cooperating with the Lin family for many years. Strictly speaking, they are your forces. Please let the Han family go for my father's sake. Han Junkai dared to drug my cousin with ill intentions. He even pointed a gun at me just now. Do you think I should let him go? Jiang Tian said lightly. Hearing this, Lin Tianlan felt cold all over. His scalp was numb, and his heart almost exploded. Who was Kong Taichu? He was the most powerful man in Wuxia. On Mount Fuji, he killed the first source of Dongyang's Sword God Palace. On Mount Fuji, he broke through the 28th Army and Air Force Brigade. On Mount Xianglu, he killed 11 gods with one sword. The Bai family, which had a glorious history of hundreds of years, was destroyed by him just because he kidnapped one of his college classmates. His family property was taken away, and his name was removed from Wuxia. The name of the adjudicator of martial arts was supreme. He dominated Wuxia and had the power to kill and seize. Who dared to offend him? Not to mention the Han family in the secular world, even the Lin family. 10 Lin families would not be enough to defeat Jiang Tian. The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. He almost fell to the ground and kicked Han Juancai's butt. Bastard! Kneel down and apologize to Miss Zhang and Master Kong. How dare you offend Master Kang's cousin? Do you want to die? Lin Tianlan meant well, but Han Juancai could not accept it. As the youngest son of Han Daod, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. From childhood to adulthood, he had a smooth life. He was arrogant, domineering, and committed all kinds of crimes, but no one dared to provoke him. At his level, it was no problem to kill a few ordinary people. Even Zhang Yilin was not worth mentioning in his eyes. In his opinion, kneeling down to Jiang Tian and Zhang Yilin was worse than killing him. Not only did he not kneel, but he also shouted loudly. Why? What's so great about Kong Teichu? He is in the martial arts world, and we are in the secular world. We don't interfere with each other's business. What can he do to me? Is there no law to restrain him? Since he had already said so much, he had completely shed all pretense of cordiality. He looked at Jiang Tian and said, I did harass your younger sister, but you also beat me up before. Let's go 50-50. Today's matter is over. What do you think? If you continue to be aggressive, I will find a way to deal with the Jiang family. In his opinion, these words were reasonable and well-founded. Jiang Tian was very powerful, but he was also bound by the martial arts convention. He could not casually kill people, especially people from the secular world. Moreover, the Han family was a genuine political and business family. They had been in Wuxia for decades, and it was not an exaggeration to say that they could cover the sky with one hand. Under the Han family, there were many leaders of ministries and departments, and the chief of Su province had to visit his father every year. In this day and age, how many businessmen were clean? If they investigated seriously, how could they not find the problem? Not to mention the Lin family, the Han family alone was enough to deal with the Jiang family. It was as easy as killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. It could be said that if the Han family wanted to destroy the Jiang family, it would not take more than a few words. This would also make Jiang Tian afraid. Shut up, Juancai. When Han Batian heard that, his heart almost jumped out of his chest. Lin Tianlan, on the other hand, was shocked. He closed his eyes sadly. He knew that if Han Juancai dared to offend the adjudicator's authority, he would not be able to keep his life. It was even a question whether the Han family could be saved. Deal with the Jiang family? Well, I've given you so many chances, and you're still so presumptuous. Well then, go to hell. Jiang Tian looked at him with a half-smile, his eyes indifferent. You're funny. You really dare to kill me. Han Juancai's face was full of sarcasm, and he thought that Jiang Tian was just shooting his mouth off. In his opinion, he was the son of an official, and this was an important place in the capital where the rich and powerful ruled. It was impossible for Jiang Tian to kill him. Well, these are your last words. Jiang Tian smiled coldly, stood up, and walked out lazily. Haha, what's wrong? Scared? Running away? Didn't you want to kill me? Kill me. Han Juancai's face was full of sarcasm, but the smile suddenly froze on his face, and he could not laugh anymore. His entire body stood there like a clay sculpture, not moving at all. Juancai, what's wrong with you? Han Daod noticed that something was wrong and rushed over, holding Han Juancai's shoulder and shaking him. Mr. Han, my condolences. Juancai is already dead. Lin Tianlan sighed from the side. How did he do it? Han Batian trembled, not knowing whether it was out of fear or anger. He noticed that Han Juancai's pupils were dilated, and he could not be more dead. However, he did not see Jiang Tian make a move. Even an immortal state martial artist would have to use true qi, and even a spell master would have to make a hand seal or chant a spell. Haha, to a deity realm powerhouse like Grandmaster Jiang, who is like a true god, killing people invisibly and from a distance of 100 miles, there are more than hundreds and thousands of methods to take people's lives. Lin Tianlan's body trembled slightly, but his eyes were full of respect. During the battle on Xianglu Peak, he happened to be in seclusion and did not see it. Today he saw the power of an immortal state warrior. This is the power of an immortal state warrior. Zhang Shursen laughed and waved his hands. The real truth comes out of the mouth, and the law follows the words. Life and death are in the hands of the heart, and the spiritual force can swallow and destroy the divine soul of others. Powerful. Too powerful. Chapter 533. At the same time, Han Daod also discovered Han Juancai's death. His face turned pale, and he froze on the spot. The others also felt a chill run down their spines. Han Juancai was dead. Han Daod's son Han Juancai was dead. Han Juancai, the man who was unscathed after killing someone in a car crash in the Second Ring Road, who was a tyrant in Beijing and nobody dared to provoke him, had died just like that. Furthermore, just as Jiang Tian said that he was going to kill him, he suddenly died without any warning. Could it be that he really killed him? Almost everyone recalled the terrible rumors that Kong Teichu destroyed the Bai family, killed 12 gods with one sword, and destroyed half of the Mount of Incense. In these rumors, the martial arts adjudicator could fly, summon the wind and rain, control thunder and lightning, and was a horrible person who could kill people without saying a word. They didn't believe it before. But now everyone believed it. Otherwise, there was no way to explain Han Juancai's sudden death. When Jiang Tian walked out, everyone parted like a tide and automatically made a path for him. All of them went silent like cicadas in winter, and didn't dare breathe loudly. They lowered their noble heads and looked down, and they didn't even dare look Jiang Tian in the eye. It was not terrible to have power and influence, but it was terrible to be able to take people's lives at will. So what if your family is rich and powerful? So what if your family is rich and powerful? I have your lives in my hands. This was the ferocity and unparalleled majesty of the adjudicator. Just like the ancient emperors and gods, he could kill people and wipe out families easily. He could rule the world and kill people at will. After Jiang Tian left for half a minute, Lin Tianlan sighed and said in a trembling voice, "A grandmaster can't be humiliated. An immortal state warrior is like a god, and an adjudicator can't be humiliated. Those who humiliate him will have no place to die." The adjudicator's majesty couldn't be humiliated by these ants. The Bai family was like that, and so was Han Juancai. Everyone was silent, and no one dared to say a word. To Jiang Tian, whether it was Han Juancai or the entire Han family, they were all ants that he could easily crush. Putting everything else aside, Jiang Tian only needed to say a single word, and the political forces under the 6 great clans would take action together, and they would be able to tear the Han clan into pieces. The Han clan did have Han Daod, but the political agents of the 6 great clans were not few in number either. Even if Jiang Tian didn't use the 6 dominant families, the central government would still give the Han family a warning if he talked to Special Envoy Shin directly. Needless to say, Jiang Tian also had many friendly forces, such as the Chao Shixiang family, the Heaven Alliance, Yi Zhantian and the Huaxiaolong formation, the Tang family and the War Dragon family. How terrifying was this power when gathered together? It was a pressure that overflowed into the heavens, a strength that could topple mountains and overturn seas. However, Jiang Tian had chosen the simplest, crudest, and most decisive method: to kill. When Han Juancai pointed a gun at him, Jiang Tian had already decided that he would not let this person live. In fact, Jiang Tian also wanted to integrate into the secular world. He didn't want to lower himself to the level of these dogs and chickens. He wanted to solve the problem in a peaceful way. However, this didn't mean that he would remain indifferent to Han Juancai's arrogant and despotic behavior. After defeating the Bai family, his name as the arbiter was only known among the martial arts families. Many of the ordinary members of the upper class thought that he had to abide by the rules of the secular world, and didn't dare to do anything to the secular families. Therefore, even after knowing Jiang Tian's identity, Han Batian and Han Daod were not afraid of him at all. They even wanted Jiang Tian to go to court with them. After Han Juancai found out that Jiang Tian was Kong Teichu, he even clamored for Jiang Tian to take a step back and let the matter rest. Otherwise, he would deal with the Jiang family. However, after Jiang Tian killed Han Juancai without any hesitation, the two of them immediately quieted down. They were completely shocked by his methods. The next step was to deal with the Song family. They hoped that the Song family would not try to resist and obediently admit defeat. Master Kong, I'll take you back. Lin Tianlan chased him into the yard, bowed slightly, and said with a pitiful look on his face, "No need. I have a car." Jiang Tian waved his hand. When he walked into the yard, Jiang Tian glanced at Han Qingli, Hu Yiba, and the others who had clamored for him before. When they saw Jiang Tian's gaze, their faces turned pale, and they trembled in fear. In particular, the fair, rich, and beautiful woman who had mocked Jiang Tian as a fake crown prince was so scared that she sat down on the ground. She didn't even have time to care about her breasts between the slit of her cheongsam. After Jiang Tian left the Han residence, the entire Han residence was dead silent. Dark clouds gathered and shrouded in deep fear. Han Batian, who stood there like a piece of dead wood, was silent for a long time. Suddenly he opened his mouth with difficulty and said, "Dowd, prepare 10% of the Han Consortium's shares and pay a visit to Master Kong with Lin Tianlan." Although his voice was hoarse and mixed with a trace of sorrow, he was still able to maintain his composure and rationality. Han Batian lived up to his name as a fierce and ruthless person. He had been up and down the mountain and down the countryside, carried a gun, went through business, and served as the confidential secretary of a big leader. He had a rich resume and seen a lot. He was the spiritual leader of many second-generation crown princes. What kind of storms had he not experienced? "Father, how can I take this lying down?" Han Dowd's face was full of unwillingness. "Even if you can't take this lying down, you have to. Do you have any ideas?" Han Batian said in a low voice. "Yes." Han Dowd's body trembled. After a long silence, he sighed deeply. He had thought it through. Jiang Tian's power was not something they could resist or stop. Just like when he killed Han Junkai, he didn't do anything at all. He didn't even touch him. What evidence did he have? If he used this method to destroy the Han family, who could do anything? Besides, the Adjudicator's powerful background and the 6 martial arts sects of Yanjin, the Heaven Alliance, Chao Shixiang, Yi Zhantian, and other allies. How could the Han family be a match for him? "Oh right, take Qingli with you. See if she can stay by Master Kang's side. Her attitude must be good." Han Batian thought for a while, and said in a low voice. Han Dowd's face was full of humiliation, but in the end he could only grit his teeth and say, "Yes, father." After Han Dowd left through the back door, Han Batian took a deep breath and strode into the courtyard. Although his eyes were still full of sorrow, he was able to squeeze out a smile and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, there was a small accident at today's gathering. My grandson suddenly had a heart attack, and I apologize for disturbing everyone. I apologize to everyone. Next, Butler, who will host the party." The party continued, but everyone's eyes were full of fear. The atmosphere was very tense and gloomy. Han Juansai's best friend had a few glasses of wine and shouted angrily, "Grandpa Han, what is the meaning of this? Young Master Jun was clearly harmed by that Jiang woman. Is he just going to swallow his anger and not do anything?" "Shut up. You have no right to talk about this kind of thing." An elder next to him slapped him. "Master Han has his reasons for doing this," Zhang Shirsen explained. "No matter how strong the Han family is, how can they challenge Master Kong, who destroyed the Bai family? Besides, when did Master Kong kill anyone? Who saw it? He didn't even move. There's no evidence." Han Juansai's best friends were speechless. At first, Jiang Tian sent Han Junkai flying with a slap, but he immediately bounced around and was fine. When Han Junkai died, Jiang Tian only threatened him verbally. He didn't even hit him. What would the court say? However, if they were to say that he died because Jiang Tian slapped him, he was also holding a gun at that time. Jiang Tian was only defending himself. In fact, they knew that Master Kong must have killed Han Junkai with a mysterious spell. Unfortunately, the court wouldn't accept this logic. Master Han is a smart man. He knows when to stop. A senior figure said in a deep voice, his eyes flashing. Master Kong can't be offended. What he did was wise. If he manages it well, he might even be able to turn a disaster into an opportunity and obtain a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Hehe, Han Junkai should have had this day a long time ago. Years ago, when he was racing on the second ring road, he killed a dozen civilians and put the Han family in a difficult position. I didn't expect him to not learn his lesson. Besides, Han Junkai has been flirting with women all these years. He's been fighting for women. Who did he learn that from? It was his father. A family representative who didn't get along well with the Han family sneered and said in a low voice. The man's words were sharp. The people around him could only smile awkwardly and didn't refute him. What he said was true. A man like Han Dao was powerful and influential. His projects were worth billions. Many rich and powerful people sent female celebrities to his bed in order to curry favor with him. Rumor had it that a businesswoman had invested $100 million to remake Dream of the Red Chamber in order to find a mistress for Han Dao. She held a nationwide audition for 12 actresses for Han Dao's pleasure. She had many admirers. Han Dao had more mistresses than he could count, and his illegitimate children were in double digits. That's it? Zhang Yilin asked incredulously as they walked out of the Han family's gate. What else can they do? Before Jiang Tian could say anything, Zhang Damfeng smiled proudly and said, Didn't you see? Even Lin Tianlan knelt before Jiang Tian? But cousin killed someone. Zhang Yilin said with a shocked face. She had seen Jiang Tian before, but that was in a private club in Zhonghai. There were no witnesses. But today, there were dozens of people present, and it was in front of Han Batian and the others. Wasn't this a little too arrogant? Stupid girl, shut up. Which eye of yours saw your cousin kill someone? Don't say anything outside. Zhang Chenjian reprimanded her. Just you wait, the Han family will have to apologize to our brother Tian. Zhang Damfeng said proudly. This family doesn't know what's good for them. Yilin had already told Han Junkai about brother Tian's other identity, and he was so aggressive. I tried to persuade Han Dao, but he didn't listen. He even slapped me in the face. Now he deserves it. Yes, they have no evidence. They are afraid of our cousin's power. They can only hold their nose and eat shit. Zhang Yilin also realized what was going on. She stuck out her tongue and looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. Her cousin was not exaggerating. He even dared to kill Han Junkai, and the Han family had to apologize to him. She could do whatever she wanted in Yanjin. Chapter 534. It was just as Zhang Damfeng had guessed. That night, Han Dao, accompanied by Lin Fengmian, Lin Tianlan, and Han Qingli, went to the gate of Yuhua Mountain Villa to apologize. Well, it's good that you're sincere. But give these shares to Zhang Yilin. Jiang Tian was sitting cross-legged under the octagonal pavilion, wearing a long green robe. When he cultivated, he used the appearance of the gung metal divine body. His eyebrows and eyes were lowered, and his appearance was solemn. The abundant spiritual energy around him was like the rising clouds and rosy clouds. The dense mist rolled and rolled, making him look even more handsome, like a god that had descended to the mortal world. Jiang Tian looked indifferent. 10% of the Han's financial group shares were worth billions, but he didn't care at all. Yes. Master Kong, don't worry. Han will handle it properly. Han Dao's face was full of joy. As if Jiang Tian had never killed his son. Jiang Tian finally opened his eyes. There was a strange crack in the void, and 2 electric arcs as thick as an arm shot out. God! This is a real god. Seeing this, Han Dao was even more in awe and fear. Now the pain of losing his son had disappeared, and was replaced by deep fear. He had more than a dozen illegitimate daughters. Han Junkai was just brought into the Han family, and had a deeper relationship with him. In fact, he didn't care much about Han Juancai's life. He was angry because Jiang Tian had challenged his dignity and authority. When Han Juancai's mother wanted to rise in the palace, he had sent someone to kill her. He was such a ruthless person. How could he be bound by emotions? He only cared about his own interests. But later, he gradually understood that Han Junkai had not only offended Jiang Tian, but also almost brought the Han family to eternal damnation. His son was dead, but he still had other children. But if the Han family was finished, he would lose his wealth and become a beggar. He would lose his power and become a prisoner. That would be a fate worse than death. How amazing! Behind him, Han Qingli, who was wearing a red evening gown, was trembling in fear. Her full breasts rose and fell violently, creating dazzling waves. Then he suddenly thought of something, and his eyes burned with passion. Still not leaving? Jiang Tian asked indifferently. Master Kong, this is my daughter, Qing Li. She hasn't taken her wedding leave, and is a virgin. She studied at the Ivy League Business School, and has a very clear appearance. She has the reputation of being one of the 4 beauties in Beijing. Han Dao bowed and pushed his daughter out. With a smile, he said, if Master Kong is merciful and allows her to stay by Master Kang's side as a servant girl, then it will be her great fortune and also our Han family's fortune. Jiang Tian glanced sideways at Han Qingli. This woman was about 20 years old. Her facial features were exquisite, and her pair of peach blossom eyes were especially alluring. She was wearing a low-cut, backless evening gown on a cold day. Her skin was snowy and translucent, and it also showed off her figure. She was indeed a top-quality beauty. She was in the prime of a girl's life. Her skin was so soft that it was as if water could be squeezed out of it. Moreover, she was born into a good family and lived like a princess. She also had a graceful and elegant aura. Compared to those female celebrities and models, she was obviously on a higher level. Master Kong, please accept me. If you reject me, my self-esteem will be greatly damaged. Seeing Jiang Tian looking over, Han Qingli let out a bright smile. It was as if 100 flowers had bloomed in an instant. It's hard for you to wear so little on such a cold day. I appreciate your kindness, but I don't need it. I already have a lot of women around me. Jiang Tian rejected her indifferently, and Han Qingli's face stiffened. Han Dao was also disappointed. But give me your bracelet. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Oh, this is a recuperation jade talisman. A good friend of mine gave it to me. Han Qingli's face lit up with joy. She thought that Jiang Tian had taken a fancy to the jade talisman, and hurriedly handed it over to him. Vitality Jade Charm? Hee, the Vitality Jade Charm is more like it. Jiang Tian sneered, and threw the jade charm on the ground. Crack! The moment the jade charm broke, the void twisted and trembled. Black smoke billowed, and a ghost with disheveled hair, and a green face with fangs quickly condensed. It screamed and ran out of the courtyard. This is an evil ghost? Han Dao and his daughter were so scared that their faces turned pale, and their bodies trembled. Hee, it's just a ghost. It's not even a ghost general. What's there to be afraid of? Jiang Tian's divine sense moved. With a boom, the golden armor general jumped out. The green dragon crescent blade swept out and directly cut the ghost into ashes. It then turned into a golden light, and jumped into Jiang Tian's divine sense. This is a golden deity? When Han Dao and his daughter saw this, they were dumbstruck and trembled, and their respect for Jiang Tian increased by a bit. Jiang Tian smiled and asked, this jade charm was given to you by Song Shuangyan, right? Master Kong, how did you know? That's right. She gave it to me. Han Qingli suddenly understood something and felt a chill in her heart. I can see it. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, if you wear it for 3 more months, this ghost will take over your body and you will become a puppet that she can control at will. This bitch, how can she be so cruel? I treated her as a sister. Han Qingli was shocked and angry. She cursed fiercely. You think that's all? Jiang Tian's eyes were indifferent as he said, these Yin souls are all filthy things, and they can't absorb other spiritual powers. They can only use your body as nourishment. You will feel cold all over, your yang qi will sink, and your qi and blood will deteriorate. It will only take 3 months for your essence, qi, and spirit to be exhausted, and you will become a dry corpse. Han Qingli's face turned pale, and then she said angrily, this bitch must be afraid that I will fight with her for young Master Lu Lishuan, and also covet the Han family's secret. She is so hateful. I told you to stay away from this bitch, but you didn't believe me. Han Dao wrung his hands and sighed. This woman usually plays music and makes tea. She looks like she is aloof from worldly affairs. In fact, she is the most ambitious and ruthless. If Master Kong didn't find you today, you wouldn't be alive. Young Master Lu? Who is that? Jiang Tian asked with a frown. The heir of the Lu family, Yanjin's top official business family Lu Lishuan. When this person was mentioned, Han Dao's face showed a bit of fear. He said in a low voice, among the fourth-generation nobles like Zhang Danfeng and Han Junfeng, this person is the spiritual leader. In terms of ability, means background and vision, he is one of the best. Even the elders have to avoid him. He is called the Crown Prince of Yanjin. Does this person have a martial arts background? Or is he a Dharma master? Jiang Tian asked. I haven't heard of him yet. Han Dao thought for a moment and shook his head. Haha, he is just an ant. Jiang Tian didn't care about him at all. He looked at Han Qingli and said, Miss Han, I am going to the Song family to ask for some things. If there is a chance, please take me to see Song Shuangyan. Yes, Master Kong. Han Qingli's clear eyes showed a hint of gloating. Han Dao also showed a hint of joy. In the afternoon, the Han family gathered together to secretly study Jiang Tian's information. They knew that Song Shuangyan had broken off the engagement with him. They suddenly realized that the Song family's time of death had come. When Jiang Tian killed the Yin soul in Han Qingli's jade talisman. In the suburbs dozens of kilometers away, on the peak of the snow-capped Mount Yen, in the depths of the flying dragon villa of the Song family, an old man in a Taoist robe was shocked. He suddenly opened his malicious eyes and said hatefully, Your cultivation is not bad. You can actually destroy the little ghost that I have raised for 3 years in an instant. Oh no, Master Lei woke up. What startled him? Next to him, a few disciples who followed him to practice suddenly exclaimed, Whoosh! The old man had chicken skin and crane head. His body was stooped and his face was full of age spots. He was so old that all his teeth had fallen out. But the moment he stood up, his body was as majestic as a mountain. In his hand was a ball of dazzling lightning, which illuminated the whole central room. He shouted gloomily, How dare you? In Wuxia, there is someone who dares to touch my heavenly prestige. Do you want to die? This violent shout was like rolling thunder, which directly alarmed the entire Song family's old house. What happened to Master Lei? The head of the Song family, Song Beishan, looked fearful. He quickly stood up and walked toward the worship hall in the depths of the old house. The Song family was the third most powerful political and business family in Yanjing. Song Beishan was even more powerful and influential. But when he mentioned this Master Lei, his face was full of fear and reverence, as if he had seen a ghost. There was no other reason except that this so-called Master Lei was the only Taoist master in Wuxia. The last Taoist master of the Celestial Master sect in Longhu Mountain, Zhang Qianlei. Song Beishan, surrounded by Song Shuangyan and others, hurriedly walked into the worship hall. They all knelt down and said, Master Lei, I wonder what made you so angry. Zhang Qianlei looked down at everyone and said coldly, I sense that someone destroyed the divine soul I have been raising for 3 years. This person is in Yanjing. Has there been any great Taoist master in Yanjing recently? The huge spiritual power reverberated in the entire Song family's old house, like the sea rolling and surging. Everyone felt a sharp pain in their heads and felt dizzy. Fortunately, they didn't faint on the spot. That soul-devouring talisman should be worn by Han Qingli. Song Shuangyan frowned and said, But Master Lei, how is that possible? The Yin soul you raised, even if only for 3 years, can't be destroyed by a mystic enlightening sorcerer or an immortal state warrior. The Han family, even the Lin family behind them, doesn't have an immortal state warrior. It can't be Kong Teichu, can it? He's the only immortal state warrior in Yanjing now. Song Beishan suddenly exclaimed, Kong Teichu? Who is that? Zhang Qianlei's eyes flashed with lightning as he asked in a deep voice. He's a peerless overlord who rose when Master Lei was in seclusion. He's known as the martial arts arbiter. Song Shuangyan said concisely, This person once killed 11 immortals on Xianglu Peak and destroyed the Bai family. Now the 6 major martial arts families have surrendered to him. What? Are Bai Tianlei and his wife dead? Zhang Qianlei was slightly moved and couldn't believe it. Yes. Song Shuangyan lowered her head and said, I didn't expect them to be dead. Zhang Qianlei was slightly stunned and his face was full of sadness. He sighed and said regretfully, 30 years ago, I challenged Bai Tianlei and his wife. They were slightly inferior and gave up their swords. We agreed that after 30 years of cultivation on the dragon marrow spirit vein, and reached the peak of the immortal state, they would fight with me again. I didn't expect the couple to be dead. I cultivated hard for 30 years and finally broke out of seclusion. However, my peers have either withered or gone into seclusion. In China, there is not a single enemy. Even if I have monstrous magic power, what use is it? Chapter 535. Suddenly, Zhang Qianlei's eyes shot out bolts of lightning and he said coldly, "But Kang Teichu defeated them, so he should be stronger than them. Then I'll kill him and reach the top of Wuxia." Master Lei is willing to suppress Kang Teichu. If he wins, our Song family will be able to defeat all the martial arts and secular families, and become the number one in Yanjin and Wuxia. Song Shuangyan looked ecstatic and excited. "Master Lei, are you really going to do it?" Song Beishan said worriedly, "But Kang Teichu is so powerful. He's really at the peak of the immortal state, and has a brilliant record. He killed Wang Chongyan Xiaobin, and the origin of the East Ocean Palace. He even broke through the 28th East Ocean Mixed Regiment. He's really terrible. Haha, I achieved the Taoist body 30 years ago. After 50 years of cultivation, I've reached the peak of the Taoist body and touched the edge of the immortal realm. Except for the old monster Yi Tianren, no one in the world can be my opponent." Zhang Qianlei suddenly turned his head and roared at Song Beishan. His huge spiritual power shattered all the doors and windows in all directions, and the entire central room almost collapsed in an instant. "Haha, if I met someone at the peak of the immortal state 30 years ago, I might have to avoid it, but now," he rumbled. He took a step forward, and his originally stooped waist instantly straightened. His face twisted and changed, and his figure was like an inflated balloon, rapidly expanding and growing taller. His arms, thighs, and arms, which were originally as thin as firewood, were quickly filled with muscles and blood. The sparse and dirty white hair on his head quickly fell off, and black hair flowed out like a waterfall. Even his teeth grew out. It only took a breath. This aged Zhang Qianlei had actually transformed into a middle-aged man with a slender and imposing figure, an extraordinarily handsome appearance, a domineering bearing, and a might that suppressed the world and looked down upon all living beings in a myriad of worlds. "My Taoist body has reached the phenomenal level. I can suppress the immortal state, control the thunder, summon the wind and rain, and crush everything. Kang Teichu is nothing." Zhang Qianlei jumped up. He didn't break through the roof, but he was already hundreds of meters high. "Thunder. Gee." He casually pulled, like pulling a rag, a huge bolt of lightning that was as thick as a bowl, and more than 20 meters long was pulled down from the depths of the clouds above the ninth heaven. This bolt of lightning illuminated the area within a few kilometers. It was extremely powerful. It was like a giant python that was struggling and dancing in his hand. Even though it was far away, it made everyone breathless. Zhang Qianlei was like the god of thunder. Bathed in lightning, he controlled the lightning and casually smashed it down. Rumble. Bang. Suddenly, a mountain peak that was tens of meters tall exploded. The hard granite crumbled like paper, and the steep mountain peak was flattened in the blink of an eye. Within a radius of a few miles, the ground trembled, the trees swayed violently, and snow rustled down. In the cold winter, a thunderbolt flattens the dangerous peak. Even when Bai Tianlei and his wife were at the peak of the divine realm, they could only penetrate a rock that was a few meters thick. However, Zhang Qianlei could control the heavenly thunder and blow up a mountain that was dozens of meters high. What kind of divine power? What kind of power and how domineering was that? Seeing this, Song Beishan, Song Shuangyan, and the others couldn't help but change their expressions. They were stunned and couldn't believe it. Was this still the power of a human being? He might have already surpassed the immortal state and become a real deity. On the path of cultivation, the cultivation from the lowest to the highest was perception, Taoist entry, mystic enlightenment, and Taoist body. Before reaching the Taoist body, although the spiritual power of a sorcerer was strong, he could mobilize the power of heaven and earth and had many dharma spells, but his body was weak and far inferior to that of a martial artist. Moreover, it took time to make hand gestures and recite spells. He was no match for a martial artist at all. After all, the other party had already killed him before he could do any of that. But once he reached the Taoist body, he would become a perfected cultivator. Golden mouth and jade words. Not only could he use many Dharma spells, but he could also control the power of heaven and earth at will. Moreover, his body would become incomparably strong and could swallow the power of heaven and earth. His body could change endlessly and his lifespan could be increased by 260 years. He would be immortal for 100 years after death. This was the true body, or perfected person's body. In ancient times, perfected person with Taoist body was a national protector, and a figure respected by the emperor. It was said that after the Qing dynasty, there had been no Dharma spell masters with Taoist body cultivation in Wuxia. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. They were simply like dragons in the sky. This is the real power of Master Lei. Song Beishan was so excited that his whole body trembled. Master Lei is like a hidden dragon in the abyss. He came out after 50 years of seclusion, and turned into a dragon as soon as he met the wind and clouds. With him making a move, who would be a match for the Song family? Kong Teichu is nothing. Song Shuangyan was ecstatic as she looked at the stalwart man standing proudly in the void and bathed in divine light. Like a believer seeing a true god. The Zhang family broke off the engagement with the Han family. The Han family's Han Jun died of a sudden heart attack, but the Han family gave the Zhang family 10% of the Han family's financial group shares. When the news spread, the Zhang family's status suddenly rose. It caused a lot of waves and discussions in the upper-class society of Yanjing, and caused a lot of speculation. There were also rumors that this might be related to the martial arts adjudicator Kong Teichu. For a time, the adjudicator's reputation was even greater. On this day Jiang Tian just woke up. Jiang Wan pulled Jiang Tian's sleeve and begged with a bitter face. Jiang Tian, why don't you take me to Yanjing to play? It's so boring in the villa. Jiang Wan was 6 or 7 years old, and she was the most active and playful. She thought that Yanjing would be lively and fun, but she did not expect to live in the deserted fragrant mountain. Everyone was either cultivating or busy with various things, and no one cared about her. At first, she was very happy to make snowmen and ski, but it was annoying to make snowmen every day. Okay, let's go out and play. Jiang Tian smiled and touched her little head. Then he went to the living room and said, "Who wants to go shopping? Let's go together." Behind the Apple PC, Jiang Bangxia stretched and said, "I'm not going. I'm busy with the documents and drafting the company's articles of association." Yi Ziwei, who was watching the financial news, also waved her hand and said, "I'm not interested. I have to review the decoration design of the new office building." Huang Linger sat cross-legged on the sofa and said solemnly, "I have to break through as soon as possible. Shopping is boring." At the Shuangqing villa, Qingyer's ethereal voice came through the house and yard. "Cultivate. Only cultivation is the way to go." Shen Mange went home to accompany her family for the holiday, not to mention. Jiang Tian, why do I feel that everyone is very busy, and you are the only one who has nothing to do? Jiang Wan mocked. Who said that? How would you know when I'm busy? Jiang Tian was speechless. That's right. Jiang Bangxia took a sip of the fragrant hot coffee and joked. Everyone is working for him, but he's the only one who is comfortable, lying down and counting money every day. Haha, a capitalist is the kind who doesn't know anything, doesn't do physical work, and doesn't know the difference between grain and rice. He let others do everything. The older Jiang Waner was, the sharper her tongue was. Do you still want to go or not? If you talk nonsense again, I'll show you that I'm busy. Jiang Tian hit Jiang Waner's head and drove a Volkswagen Passat down the mountain with Jiang Waner to play. The car was very cheap, only about 200,000 yuan. It was an office car purchased by the Yawang Holdings. Basically, the middle-level managers each had one. Jiang Tian's Rolls-Royce Phantom was left in Jinling for Jiang Chao. Jiang Tian was not particular about cars, so he asked for a few from the company and put them in Yuhua Mountain Villa. Everyone used them when they went out. He took Jiang Wan'er to eat all kinds of snacks such as rolls with donkey, fried triangles, flour cakes, soy milk, and braised pork. Then they went to Happy Valley in Chaoyang District to play. Jiang Wan'er's face was red from the cold, but her mood was very satisfied. It was already noon when they left Happy Valley. Jiang Wan'er held the candied haws and complained that she was hungry. Jiang Tian drove her to the pedestrian street of the Duke's mansion to eat. When they just got out of the car, suddenly a surprised voice came. Jiang Tian, is that you? Jiang Tian looked back and saw Lu Yiting. He smiled and said, Old class monitor, I haven't seen you for a few years. You've become more and more beautiful. The last time Jiang Tian saw Lu Yiting, he helped her to ask Li Huiyan to be her spokesperson in Linzhou. After that, Jiang Tian returned to Jinling and never saw her again. However, Lu Yiting would send a text message to Jiang Tian almost every time there was a festival. She would also go to Jinling to visit Zhang Wanqing. She had mentioned to Zhang Wanqing more than once that she wanted to give some shares of Beautiful Sky to the Jiang Tian family. After all, Beautiful Sky relied on Jiang Tian's beauty cream. But when Jiang Tian found out about it, he refused. He even gave her a few prescriptions, such as the Vanishing Cream and Jade Face Cream. Lu Yiting's skin was fair, and her makeup was exquisite. Her short hair made her look capable and neat. She was wearing a long camel coat and a limited edition crocodile skin Prada bag. The coat was lined with a tight cashmere turtleneck sweater, which made her breasts and waist look even more slender. She was wearing a short woolen skirt and black leggings. She was wearing a pair of sharp black high heels with red soles. She was mature and charming with a clean and neat look. She was elegant and had a strong aura. She was dressed like a big sister in the workplace. Am I beautiful? Yes, I have been using your prescriptions. Lu Yiting's face was full of joy. She almost ran over and hugged Jiang Tian's arm. You really came to Yanjing. But I didn't expect to see you here. I was just about to call you. You saw the announcement of the Medicine King group, right? Jiang Tian smiled. Jiang Wan'er was chewing on the candied haws. She rolled her eyes and said coldly, What are you doing? I'm going to tell on you. Jiang Tian, you are not honest. It turns out that you didn't come to take me out to play, but to pick up girls. I was too excited. After all, we haven't seen each other for more than 2 years. Lu Yiting let go of her hand awkwardly. She didn't know why, but when she saw Jiang Tian, she felt very comfortable and peaceful. She couldn't help but want to get closer to Jiang Tian. She bent over and looked at Jiang Wan'er with a smile. Don't tell on me. What gift do you want? Auntie will buy it for you. Sister, I'm Jiang Tian's cousin. I'm not his junior. I want an Apple Watch. Jiang Wan'er suddenly had a good impression of Lu Yiting. She was beaming with joy and looked like a little money grubber. Can't you be more mature? You want things from people. Jiang Tian rolled his eyes at Jiang Wan'er. Chapter 536. I've been asking you for half a day, but you won't buy it for me. Tell me, how stingy are you? Jiang Wan'er raised her eyebrows and said sarcastically, Okay, then I'll go and tell on you. Naughty girl. Believe it or not, I'll throw you back to Jinling City. Jiang Tian couldn't do anything to Jiang Wan'er. Even a dog would despise a 6-year-old child. Your words are useless. My sister-in-law Qingyer's words are useful. You are a henpecked husband. Jiang Wan'er sneered. Jiang Tian was shocked by her words. Lu Yiting smiled and said, Jiang Tian, it's too cold outside. Let's find a restaurant to eat and talk. It's my treat. Let's eat here. Jiang Tian looked around and saw a Western restaurant called Champs-Élysées. He raised his hand and pointed at it. Jiang Wan'er bit the candied haws and jumped with joy. She smiled and said, Great, this is the first time I've eaten in a Western restaurant. Jiang Tian, this can't be. Lu Yiting held Jiang Wan'er's little hand and said in disbelief. He meant that the Jiang family was the most wealthy family in Jinling City. How could his cousin not eat Western food? Haha, you overestimate him. He is so stingy. He spends money in half. I've never eaten Western food since I was a child. Jiang Wan'er sneered. Jiang Tian didn't bother to talk to her. He looked at Lu Yiting and explained, "My father is very strict. He doesn't let children eat Western food in the name of promoting national culture." "Oh, I see. What a family." Lu Yiting suddenly understood. She noticed that Jiang Weiner was wearing a long cotton robe and old cloth shoes. Her hair was tied up in an old-fashioned bun. If it weren't for her fair face and temperament, she would have looked like a country girl. Only the antique high-ice jade hairpin, which was worth at least 1,000,000 yuan, in her hair bun revealed the monstrous wealth of the family behind her. He took Jiang Weiner into the sightseeing elevator and came to the Champs-Élysées restaurant. After entering the restaurant, Jiang Tian found that it was a different world. This restaurant was located on the top floor of the hotel, overlooking half of the Chaoyang district. The decoration was luxurious and the service was excellent. Furthermore, they were all cooked by famous French chefs, and the band on the small stage was playing the song Blue Danube. It gave off a luxurious feeling, and it was probably a first-class restaurant in Beijing. The dining table was clean and tidy, and the silver knives and forks were dazzling. They were placed neatly, and the waiters were all elegant. Among them, there was no lack of blonde foreign waiters. The head waiter was a French girl who was proficient in many languages. Of course, the price was also ridiculously high. The cost of a meal per person was more than 10,000 yuan. The guests were either rich or respectable. However, this level of consumption was nothing to Jiang Tian, or even Lu Yiting. After Lu Yiting sat down, she called the waiter over and ordered the food according to Jiang Tian's taste. Jiang Tian looked at the price list left by the waiter. It was more than 50,000 yuan. "Sis, let me borrow your phone for a moment. I need to cram some Western food etiquette." Jiang Weiner stretched out her hand and said with a smile, "This little girl is so cute." Lu Yiting handed the white and elegant iPhone to Jiang Weiner. "How have you been in the past 2 years?" Jiang Tian and Lu Yiting blurted out almost at the same time. Then they looked at each other and smiled. Jiang Tian said, "You go first. Beauty is now the #1 luxury brand in China." Lu Yiting felt a surge of warmth in her heart. She looked at Jiang Tian gently with her sparkling eyes and said, "Brother Jiang Tian, the effective beauty cream is far better than brands like Chanel, Estée Lauder, Lancôme and Gucci. However, the beauty cream is a new brand, and it doesn't have a strong foundation. In addition, it's a herbal formula, and it's not well accepted. In the beginning, it was promoted on the ground and relied on my beauty shop. Later, after Li Huiyan became the spokesperson, the product positioning became high-end, and the sales also opened up. She has also starred in a few Chinese and Korean co-productions recently, and her influence in Southeast Asia and East Asia is growing. The product's image is also rising. We changed the packaging, and the price increased tenfold. Many of the products are sold for more than 10,000 yuan. Change the packaging? You didn't change the formula? If you don't give me the new formula, how can I change it?" Lu Yiting sipped her coffee elegantly. There was a smile in her beautiful eyes, and she gently shook her head. "Are you robbing me?" Jiang Tian knocked on the table and laughed. "Those things, the cost of a bottle is only about 100 yuan, right? 100 times the profit?" "Yes, this is the luxury industry. They don't buy the best, only the most expensive. If the price is too low, it will affect the sales." Lu Yiting said in a matter-of-fact tone, "It's a show-off. At present, it's probably still a period where people need to use brands to satisfy their vanity and improve their personal image. Just like the customers of this restaurant. Look how many people are taking photos and posting them on Weibo to show off." Jiang Tian looked around and nodded. "That's right. One is willing to hit, and one is willing to be hit. The foreign brands I just mentioned are not as good as ours, but the price is more expensive." Lu Yiting smiled. "Previously, there was a venture capital investor who contacted me. The valuation of beauty is 2 billion yuan. But I didn't accept the investment." "Yes, there's no need. We have enough funds," Jiang Tian said with a smile. "It's precisely because I'm considering that the product will be marketed internationally in the future that I moved the company to Beijing. It's only been a month, and we've just opened for business. The company's headquarters is not far from here." Lu Yiting tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and said with a satisfied smile, "That's right. Actually, I didn't expect that I would have such a day. Beauty is actually revived and developed so well. Actually, there's also the problem of the nation's self-confidence." Jiang Tian smiled and said, "The Chinese herbal medicine wasn't recognized at first, but now they're slowly recognizing it. Are you praising yourself?" At this moment, the dishes were served. Lu Yiting skillfully used the knife and fork to cut the steak, chewing and swallowing slowly. She looked at Jiang Tian mockingly. "I'm praising myself?" Jiang Tian was stunned. Only then did he realize that she was referring to him defeating TKM and thwarting TKM's application for the World Heritage Site. He waved his hand and smiled. "That's not what I mean. This is the trend of the times. With the rapid development of Wuxia's economy and the continuous rise of its international status, the nation's self-confidence has naturally increased. It used to be that the moon in other countries is rounder than in our country, but now everyone realizes that the quintessence of our country is not bad. However, after you defeated TKM, our sales have indeed been rising steadily, doubling every month." Lu Yiting looked at Jiang Tian with a smile and raised her wine glass. "Come, Jiang Tian, for the nation's self-confidence, let me toast you." Her small, jade-white hands were sparkling and translucent against the scarlet wine in the goblet, as if they were snow. "This reason is reasonable. I can't refuse it." Jiang Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He raised his wine glass and clinked it with hers before taking a sip. "Western food is so troublesome. I'm not eating it anymore." Jiang Weiner complained resentfully. Although she had just learned how to eat Western food, she had never used a knife and fork after all. She often made loud noises which made the little girl sweat anxiously. In this hurry, she forgot the knowledge she had learned. In addition, there were many authentic Western tableware, so the little girl took the small spoon used for dessert to serve soup. Lu Yiting smiled gently, took her plate, and helped her to remove the steak, cut the foie gras, and lobster meat. She cut them piece by piece and sent them to her. "Eat." At this time, Jiang Tian found that there was a girl in an evening dress diagonally behind him, taking photos of him with her mobile phone. What is she taking photos of? Could it be that I am very strange? Jiang Tian frowned and asked Lu Yiting. Lu Yiting covered her mouth and laughed. Maybe your outfit is too different. Jiang Tian was originally wearing an old-fashioned green cotton padded jacket, but he had a special physique, and the restaurant was warm. After drinking a few glasses of wine, he felt a little hot, so he took it off, revealing the cotton short-sleeved t-shirt inside. In addition, he was wearing casual pants and a pair of old Beijing cloth shoes. He looked very different from the people around him who were wearing evening gowns, suits, leather shoes, and brocade clothes. He looked very out of place. "Oh, that's it. Only Weiner and I stand firmly together and keep the same style." Jiang Tian smiled and didn't take it to heart. A cultivator's Taoism was natural and not limited to material things. He could move freely between heaven and earth and did everything with his heart. Even the appearance of a person could be changed at will, let alone the clothes. "Then what are you going to reward me with? Don't just talk about it. Give me something practical." Jiang Weiner sneered. "I'll buy you an Apple mobile phone later. You've been talking about me all the way." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "Brother, you're so nice. You deserve to be my brother." Weiner hugged Jiang Tian and kissed him a few times. When she was happy, her voice was a little loud. The girl who had secretly taken a picture of Jiang Tian's black evening gown snorted disdainfully and said, "No manners." Lu Yiting turned her head to take a look. She saw that the girl was adorned with jewelry and exquisite makeup. Her eyebrows were lightly drawn, her lips were lightly smeared, and her charming red phoenix eyelashes were slightly curved. She was both cute and sexy. Her white face matched with the black evening gown was really charming and beautiful. Sitting opposite her was a fat man with big ears. He was wearing a suit and leather shoes. His leather shoes and swept-back hair were shiny and shiny. He was dressed like a successful person. Seeing Lu Yiting looking over, the successful man snorted disdainfully. He deliberately showed his gold Rolex watch to look at the time, and skillfully snapped his fingers and shouted, "Waiter!" The French waitress was the one who paid for her. After the fat man paid, he threw out a 100 yuan bill. The French waitress said in fluent English, "Thank you." That made the fat boss smile proudly. The girl in the black evening gown took a picture of Jiang Tian and said disdainfully, "Some people don't know how to eat Western food, but they still pretend to be elegant. Why are they learning how to eat French food? Have you eaten Kentucky Fried Chicken or McDonald's? You're like a naughty child from the beginning to the end. You're restless and noisy. You have no manners at all. You're a disgrace." Jiang Weiner had already heard it. She deliberately pretended to be pitiful. "Jiang Tian, you're so poor that you can't even bear to let me eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now you're showing your cowardice, aren't you? I've embarrassed you, haven't I?" When the fat boss heard this, he was even more disdainful of Jiang Tian. He sneered arrogantly and said, "That's right. Some people drive a lousy Passat here. They can't even afford a suit. Even if they have to sell everything they have, they still insist on eating Western food to prove that they're part of the upper class. Isn't that childish?" At first, Jiang Weiner thought it was quite fun. She just wanted to make fun of Jiang Tian. But after listening to it, she became annoyed. It's okay for others to make fun of me, but how can they make fun of my cousin? Only I can make fun of my cousin in the whole world. She threw away her knife and fork, turned her head and sneered. "You think you're so great just because you can eat French food? You think you're inferior to me just because you can't eat French food? Who do you think you are?" Chapter 537. Jiang Weiner's voice was crisp and soft, but her sharp tongue was top-notch. "Besides, we like to eat like this. It's none of your business. Do you think eating like Westerners is elegant? That's just a step and a procedure. It's just a meal. What's the point of caring so much about it? Those who care too much about these things are vulgar. They are the kind of people who desperately want to prove that they are in the upper class. That's really naive. I also like to eat with my hands. What can you do about it? We're just casual. Why? We don't care about it. Look at you. You're taking photos when you come out for a meal. You're even dressed up. You haven't eaten much, have you? You only come here once a year and a half, right? Look, the powder on that auntie's face is thicker than the wall of the Great Wall of Badaling. Grandpa, the hair wax on your head can withstand the bombardment of artillery shells, right? Who are you pretending for? Don't you feel tired? You, what are you talking about?" The girl in the evening dress was trembling with anger. The fat boss's face also turned red. In fact, Jiang Weiner was right. They had been planning to have a meal at the Champs-Élysées for half a year. "Weiner, you're really good at talking. This is the same as when we were in university. You're right. You're so arrogant." Lu Yuting couldn't help but praise her with a surprised face. "I can't teach you well. Family misfortune, family misfortune. Weiner, shut up. Or I'll tell your mother." Jiang Tian put his hand on his forehead and felt extremely helpless. At this time, the French forewoman looked at Jiang Weiner and said gently, "Miss, it's indeed uncivilized to eat with your hands when eating Western food." Civilized? People in India have always eaten with their hands. I can only say that this is not civilized in your eyes. Jiang Weiner continued to pester endlessly. "Besides, there is a serious problem with your position. You're the manager. Now you should persuade both sides to resolve the conflict. But you're obviously intensifying the conflict and taking sides. If I were the restaurant owner, I would fire you now, because your attitude will anger one side. Of course, it's not your fault. He gave you 100 yuan tip. He probably thinks we can't afford it." The forewoman's face stiffened. She did not expect to be ridiculed by Jiang Wan, who looked 7 or 8 years old. Around 2009, everyone was more or less fawning over foreigners. In Beijing, not to mention Frenchmen, even black men could change their girlfriends every day and call Wuxia girls easy girls. The Wuxia men who came to eat here had always been polite and courteous. They were especially polite to them, and even a little fearful. Jiang Weiner changed the topic and fired at the man and woman again. "Let's go back to the topic just now. We were eating and didn't offend anyone, right? But that woman took photos? What did that mean?" Haven't you seen people wearing t-shirts, long gowns, and old cloth shoes while eating Western food? Are you going to post on your WeChat moments and Weibo to mock us? Who doesn't know manners? Who doesn't have manners? The girl in the evening gown snorted and said, "Who's taking pictures? I'm taking pictures of the scenery, okay?" Jiang Wanner ignored her and looked at the foreman again, saying, You're funny. At that time, you were paying the bill for them. Didn't you see this old auntie taking pictures? Why didn't you stop this impolite behavior? It was probably because of that 100 yuan tip. Wasn't that despicable? You're twisting the truth just for 100 yuan? The foreman smiled stiffly and said, "Miss, you misunderstood. It's not like that." She scolded us. The girl in the evening gown seemed to have suddenly found something that could be used against her. She pointed at Jiang Wanner and said, "In such a high-end occasion, wearing a long gown and old cloth shoes, not knowing how to eat Western food, and still scolding us. What a fucking disappointment. You have good manners? You even scolded us." When I said she was despicable, it was an objective evaluation of her personality, not a scolding. Jiang Wanner sneered and said, "What's wrong with wearing a long gown? The long gown is the essence of traditional clothing and the symbol of Chinese clothing culture. Its smooth lines, elegant shape, and implicit artistic conception express the Chinese people of the past 100 years, especially the classical, graceful, sexy, and reserved nature of women. It also shows the modesty, strength of character, and bearing of men. It also carries the cultural meaning of unity and harmony between man and nature. Do you understand? But this is a Western restaurant." The girl in the evening gown was tongue-tied by Jiang Wanner and couldn't say anything. "Let me tell you, ethnic is the best. I like it. I want ethnic to the end." Jiang Wanner smiled and said, "Brother, give me New Year's money. I'm going to throw money at people." Jiang Tian pretended to dig in his pocket, and then took out 100,000 yuan in cash. "Let me tell you, the New Year's money is in advance. Don't ask me for it during the Spring Festival." "Is your pocket Doraemon's pocket? Can it hold so much money?" Lu Yiting's eyes widened. Jiang Wanner had already gotten used to it. She took a pile of money and slapped it on the table. "This is for you. Let the band play Taking 5 Tigers Mountain." "I like this ethnic style." The head waitress was embarrassed and said with a reserved smile, "I'm sorry, we are a Western restaurant. They don't play traditional Wuxia operas." "Continue to give me money. Why are you still standing there?" Jiang Wanner reached out to Jiang Tian and ordered Jiang Tian around. "I owe you, don't I? Let me tell you, next year's New Year's money is also in advance." Jiang Tian was so angry that his teeth itched. He took out a check, picked up a pen, signed it, and threw it on the table. 500,000 yuan. "Okay. Sir, miss, please raise the money. Let's play the music." The head waitress looked at it and her eyes widened. She took the check and gathered a pile of money, beaming with joy. She spoke the Beijing opera very well. "I'll sing the excerpt from Taking 5 Tigers Mountain. Disaster fell from the sky on a snowy night 8 years ago." Then she rushed to the stage and gave some instructions. When the music started, she picked up the microphone and began to sing with perfect articulation. I said she was cheap, but she still sang for me obediently. Jiang Wanner looked at the girl in the evening dress with a sinister smile. She was also good at disgusting people. "Auntie, do you think it's nice? Is it pleasant? If you don't want to listen, get out of here." Lu Yiting laughed. "Jiang Tian, she's exactly the same as you when you were in university. If you hadn't said it before, I would have suspected that she's your biological daughter." "No, she's my aunt's daughter. My uncle has no status, so she took her mother's surname." "Ah," Jiang Tian said gloomily. "If I had a daughter like her, I would be angered to death by her." The girl in the evening dress was furious at Jiang Wanner's arrogant and despotic manner. She pulled the fat man and said coquettishly, Look, they're bullying me. You have to get out of here. Didn't you say that you're from Xinjiang district? Okay. You've got guts. You must be a nouveau riche from the countryside. Let's see how long you can keep this up." The fat man made a call for help. After a while, a few defense team members came. They walked up to the fat man, nodded and bowed, and asked politely, "Brother Hao, what's going on?" The fat man tore off a few buttons on his collar, picked up a glass of wine, and calmly poured it on himself. He pointed at Jiang Tian and smiled. "This kid poured wine on me, tore my shirt and hit me. Take him into custody. Please come with us. Cooperate with the investigation." A few defense team members walked up to Jiang Tian and snorted proudly. "Damn, this is interesting." Jiang Tian shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. At the foot of the emperor, at the foot of the imperial city. This kid is really something. The fat man smiled sinisterly and said, "I'll tell you straight. My name is Gujin Hao. I'm Zhang Huchen from Crown Prince Hotel. Have you heard of him? I'm ferocious. Don't you know who dares to provoke me in Chaoyang district?" Jiang Tian didn't move. How could such a small fry be worthy of his attention? It seemed that this kid was one of Zhang Huchen's men. But he didn't have Zhang Huchen's phone number. How could he call his mother? "Hurry up. What are you waiting for? Cooperate with us." Several members of the defense team pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded him sternly. Jiang Weiner was already angry. She smiled coldly and said, "You're really good at distorting the truth. Have you learned about the law? A 7-year-old child is completely incompetent in civil and criminal matters. Murder, arson, and beating people are not illegal." "What did you say? A little brat talking about the law with me? I think you're asking for a beating." A burly member of the defense team, who was about 1.8 meters tall and weighed more than 100 kilograms, pointed at Jiang Wan-er and said with an evil look on his face. It was almost the spring festival. Everyone recalled the fear of being dominated by a naughty kid, and was in a bad mood. "Is that so?" Jiang Weiner smiled coldly. Her eyes were already very cold. She suddenly stood up and punched the big man in the stomach with her small fist. Whoosh! The big man suddenly bent over. His eyes bulged and he spat out all the food he had just eaten. Then Jiang Weiner's 1-inch punch exploded. Her huge body flew 7 or 8 meters away like a rag doll, and crashed through 5 or 6 tables before falling to the ground. "Sacred Heart King Fist? You're really good at it." Jiang Tian first praised her, and then he said with a frown, "Why did you teach her that? Grandpa, why are you teaching her this? Naughty children are already very annoying, let alone a naughty child with cultivation." "Brother, what should I do?" "Ooh, Jiang Weiner." She burst into tears. She was vomited all over and was disgusted to death. "Who told you to beat people? You deserve it." Jiang Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lu Yiting quickly took a tissue to help her clean up. "Little brat, how could you beat people?" At this time, several stunned defense team members came to their senses. They took out their batons and hit Jiang Weiner. "You still want to hit me? I'll beat you to death." Jiang Weiner was so angry. She took off her gown and threw them away. Then she rushed into the crowd of enemies. She jumped up and slapped a person away. Then she kicked another person's groin and made him kneel down. Then she elbowed and disabled another person's combat ability. "Let's change the song for the young lady. General's order." On the stage, the French forewoman was very excited. She gestured to the band and said with a smile, "Okay." Several blonde-haired and blue-eyed foreigners immediately began to play excitedly. Piano, guitar, bass, and drums were played together. It was a lively and festive scene. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.